Yeah, and like that. In paradise, everybody, on QAM.
This is South Florida's only real sports station. WQAM, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, a Beasley Broadcast Group station. And WQAM.com. For the world.
I'm hearing old...
Friday, you bastard.
Hello, I'm the general manager of this radio station. And today is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. In an effort to celebrate religious diversity and promote goodwill toward other faiths, we've brought in a member of the Jewish community to offer our Jewish listeners a greeting for the new year.
Hey, Happy New Year! Hey, that's it. Go home. Okay.
They're back, your favorite Jewish rock and roll nostalgia band. It's Rosh Hashanah with their greatest hits album, Sock Hop at the Synagogue.
My rabbi's back, he's gonna circumcise my baby. My rabbi's back.
Yes, Rosh Hashanah has reformed to bring you 12 kosher cuts of hop and Hebrew hijinks.
That joy isn't good for Jews.
This album should be in every Orthodox rocker's collection. Rolling Stone gives it 5 stars of David.
Did I wonder, who wrote the book of Job?
Sock Hop at the Synagogue, new from Rosh Hashanah. Available at all record stores. We'll talk price when you get here. Don't pass over this album.
The Hebrew.
Happy New Year and all that other good stuff. 902 at 560 WQAM. So I got a real surprise for George to get us started this morning. I didn't, and we talked as usual for over an hour before the show, but I just I kept it quiet because I know that you're going to wet your pants when you see this.
All right.
Remember yesterday I had you click on the Sun Sentinel website?
Yes, I did.
Let's do it again. I hope it didn't take as long as it did yesterday. Man, that computer down there, oh, brother, Bell South blows, baby. Is there any doubt?
No.
Bell South blows. Everybody knows that Bell South blows. Because my internet connection here, Bell Simpatico, is instantaneous. In fact, all you have to do is think about the website. Oh, speaking of websites, Eric's got our website all spiffied up now. Nice going, Eric. Better late than never. But now, see, it's George's fault. Because
it's my fault.
You didn't goose him a little bit. But he's got updated, and he's also got the link on there to those great 5 articles all in one.
Okay, am I going to
by
column?
Cheryl, what?
Am I going to
Cheryl
column
Seal.
again?
You can read the entire Cheryl Seal piece. Just go onto our NeilRogers.com, click onto that link there above the Beasley thing, and you can read the whole thing. Now, what is it? Go to columns. Go to columns.
Okay.
Go to Jicka, Tom Jicka. Got it?
Clicking.
Oh,
hey,
slow.
There it is.
Now, remember yesterday you did this?
Right.
And what did it say on September 5th? Cooking show schedule, right?
Right. Cooking shows.
You see it now?
No.
You see any cooking show schedule?
I don't see any cooking show schedule. I just see Q&As.
They're all gone. They're all gone. They're all been deleted off the Sun Sentinel website after our show yesterday. Must be just a coincidence, you know it?
I see a story on the Fonz.
No, but look at it. Now, question and answers with Tom Jicka, that's in the Sunday TV book. That's not a column.
No.
That's just questions he makes up and answers he makes up in the Sunday TV book. September 3rd, August 26th, August 19th. The last story, and August 12th, Q&A. August 8th, that means almost a month. So nothing has happened in radio or TV, locally, nationally, on the moon, on Uranus, in almost a month. And if you would believe Tom, he's got nothing to write about. Is that incredible or what?
Well, what's happened?
I guess the American Idol thing didn't happen. I guess there's nothing going on in radio. That's for damn sure. I mean, I just thought I'd point that out to you to show you the power of this show. That we embarrassed them into taking that off, as if that merits being on a website. Oh, here's the schedule of cooking shows. That's Tom Jicka's contribution to our paper today. Man, give me a break, little Tommy. Maniac. So that's gone. You won't find those on there anymore.
Good job.
Excellent job. Here's our poll result from yesterday, which we didn't get a spectacular response because nobody cares. They think I just make all of this stuff up. More of that gay banter.
Right.
Which of these women do you most strongly believe is a beard for gay celebrities? Elizabeth Taylor, 190. All of the above, 166. 661 votes, kind of weak. Lisa Marie Presley, 73. None of the above, 59. Nicole Kidman, boy, I tell you, considering she got a real late start, 41. Don't you think that's pretty heavy duty?
Uh-huh.
Britney Spears, had 32. Britney, nobody would have voted except for
Bye.
him. J-Lo, 31, who also made a nice comeback there after a slow start. They started thinking about that. Oh, yeah, P. Diddley and that other queen she was married to. Anna Cornajolia and Brooke Shields were tied with 27, and Janet Jackson only had 15. Am I confused about that, do you think?
I don't know. Who was she supposedly? I don't get that.
Some fag. I don't remember. But nevertheless. Oh, speaking of guys, man, oh man, now I know it's more gay banter, but good golly. National Post, Canadians signed Josie Theodore for U.S. $16.5 million, the highest amount ever paid in Montreal Canadiens history. Don't start with hockey talk. That'll be the end of the audience. I'm going to tell you, there's a picture here of which I know he's a great-looking guy, and a great goalie, too, by the way, eh? I'm the first one who spotted him. Even Rimmer would tell you that. I spotted him. Spotted myself a few times. This picture, if there's anybody in the world looks better than him, I haven't found him yet. Good God. How's it going, Josie? How's it going, eh? Oh, that's right, he's a frog. No, he's not a frog. Is he a frog or is he Greek? I don't know what he is. I think he's into Greek. Here's our poll question today. What do you think is going to happen? Now, it's funny, I don't want to even ask the question because Clarence, our interim, maybe permanent program director, but nobody knows for sure because Greg doesn't talk to anybody. Before we bonded before the show because Clarence has been sick for a few days with the flu, but he's back today. He sounds better than ever, as a matter of fact. Didn't he sound pretty good?
Yeah, and he looks all right, too.
For him, you know, well, now you're getting carried away. For him, he looks okay. But anyway, so we bonded a little bit, and he said, well, you know, next Wednesday is the 11th. I said, no kidding. He said, are you going to be doing anything special? I said, yeah, I'm going to be doing my show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I'm not going to take every day here. I mean, if you want to wallow in what happened last year, as grotesque and horrendous as it was, and we all remember it like it was just a few days ago, but if you want to wallow in it, we do have that one ACN bit. They put a little montage together, which I'll play Wednesday. And other than that, I just want to do a show, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, and whatever else is going on, like we always do. But in terms of, like, just changing the whole show and turning it all around, maybe we'll take some calls.
No.
If we wanted to take calls, we couldn't do it anyway.
I have an idea.
Yes, what's that?
It's traditional to have a moment of silence.
How about 4 hours?
I was just going to say that.
Oh, I'm way ahead of you, mister. Like I said, our new philosophy here on QAM, at least from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m., Neil, the Mad Dog, and the Humper. We have a new philosophy. Work as little as possible and make as much money as possible, and it's working like a charm.
Oh!
Yeah. I mean, and do the show out of town as much as possible, too. Avoid that place. Avoid that joint. Because there's something in that place that, you know, there's something in the air. Not to mention some people in the air and in the hallway. You know, the rats in my room, like Joey Reynolds said? Rats in the hallways. Anyway, here's our poll question today. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11? Another terrorist attack? Nothing unusual? Or I have no idea? Isn't that great?
Sounds great.
I don't think there are any other choices.
That no idea sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, though.
Well, they always have to have an outlet.
I know.
Don't you know there are many wishy... Well, maybe there... No, it's not a question of having no opinion. I have no idea. In other words, well, how the hell do I know? In fact, I don't think it's a bad answer.
Okay.
Do you know?
How do you spell...
Do you know what's going to happen next Wednesday?
No. The calendar will change.
I see. And chickens still won't be able to pee. And we'll be here, probably, unless we're sick or something. By the way, I'm allergic to chocolate. I got a great book. Let me read the thing again for Eric. Thank you, by the way, Eric, for such a spectacularly quick response. And the fact he was able to do it that fast convinces me it's George's fault.
It's my fault.
What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11? Another terrorist attack, nothing unusual, or I have no idea? In other words, like you said, like that. I don't think that's a bad answer. I don't have any idea.
I don't have any idea.
In fact, that may be my vote. How the hell do I know? But of course, most people, even if they don't know, they have an opinion.
I know what's going to happen. There won't be much good TV to watch.
Oh, yeah, there will, because I have digital cable.
Some of you.
And in fact, it'll be appropriate for that day, because maybe I'll sit around and watch Scream.
Right.
Scream TV with all those horror movies. Channel or something good like that. Drive-in channel's got good stuff. Some good cornball stuff, and they won't be talking about 9/11 or terrorist attacks or the World Trade Center collapsing or any of those grotesque, horrible things. I'm not saying we need to, stick our heads in the sand, but I think we've had many good reminders, don't you? Many.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a few too many. Anyway, I got a great book for you. Now, you don't want to read it because you're not into a health. You like French fries.
Right.
And, of course, I'm not into health either. If I were, I wouldn't look like this. Although I will say this. Remember a couple of years ago, Dr. Dick? There was the blood testing guy who's a big fan of mine, whatever that lab is. They had that new test where they test like 80 zillion different aspects. Really comprehensive. It's very expensive. And did it for me for free, which is the only reason I let them do it. You think I'm going to pay like hundreds of thousands of bucks for a blood test?
No.
I don't think so. Plus, being in radio, we're big on freebies. So anyway, they did the whole thing, and come to find out that I had like a 90-some%. It was like your immune
factor.
Huh?
I don't know. The X factor.
Your immune system and the whole thing, and it broke it down by calcium and by this, and I had like a 98 percentile. I mean, the score was almost perfect. And they didn't just fudge it, if I can say that. I mean, it was like for the real thing, from the lab. Which is shocking when you consider that I'm an old diabetic and fat and was eating chocolate yesterday. I'm allergic to chocolate, and in this book that I'm going to recommend them if I ever get to it, this book is almost the story of my life. Even though it's very complex and there's a lot of stuff in here that's very, but nevertheless. Intestinal flora imbalances. I've got yeast, man. I probably have enough yeast in my body to like build, to open up a pizza joint. Right?
Right on.
Don't they use
Let's
yeast to make the dough rise? And I'm allergic to yeast, by the way, and my body is full of it. Anyway, the most common symptoms of yeast overgrowth in your body are gas, bloating, and cravings for sugar and chocolate.
All right.
That's me.
Hey.
Gas, like in that elevator a week ago
Right.
Monday. Bloating, take a look at me, and cravings for sugar and chocolate.
All right.
That's me. So I got to get rid of I got to get my acidophilus. The book. I guess I probably better tell the name of the book. Maybe Eric will want to put this on there too, eh? And I don't know if you'll find this in the U.S. because it's here. It's printed by Goodwin Books Limited, North Vancouver, BC, Canada. But that shouldn't make any difference, should it?
No.
The name of the book is, it's a paperback, big heavy one too. It's like 700 pages. Eating Alive 2. So obviously there was an Eating Alive 1. Eating Alive 2 by Dr. John Mattson, M-A-T-S-E-N. That's J-O-N-N. Dr. John Mattson, N.D. What does N.D. stand for? Doctor of Naturopathy, I guess is what that stands for. In other words, he's on to M.D., which means he's already way ahead of the book as far as I'm concerned. Eating Alive 2, Dr. John J-O-N-N Mattson, N.D. Pretty interesting crap. Also some stuff that's pretty complicated, so you just forget about that stuff. 12 minutes after 9, don't eat French fries. I'm begging you, don't eat French fries. I don't care what McDonald's tells you. Don't eat fries. Don't eat fried foods. Don't eat all of that crap. Don't eat chocolate. Remember that scene in Fatso?
Crispy hash browns.
Do not eat this. Do not eat grapes.
Brown
Do not
gravy.
eat bananas. Remember she had the old bag in the doctor's office?
I remember.
You don't remember that?
Of course I remember it.
Hello?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Oh, there you know what I actually did there?
You shut me off?
I shut you off for something. Well, the book is a big, heavy book.
I understand.
I love when I do that.
You're on a card table.
I love when I do that to you. Because, you every time I pause or reach for something, hey, are you still there? So this was in reverse. Anyway, do you remember that scene with the old bag?
Of course I did.
Well, you were probably saying that anyway. Oh, that's good. 9:13 at 560 WQM. Happy Friday to you. Happy New Year. Happy Goyish holidays. Whatever. Whatever you're celebrating. Happy Yom Kippur. Oh, I'm sorry. That's next weekend. It's not happy. Hey, I want to tell you something. My good buddy Skippy was in there today, and he promises me some new copy for Oleomed. And boy, am I going to be excited about that. It's a great product. The only problem is that Brian Schmutz, when he left us, when he abandoned us and went to...
I want to give you a kiss.
Kiss? When he went over there, after he went to work for his family for about 5 minutes, he just kind of left me holding the sack. And in that sack was a whole bunch of Oleomed. I remember we opened up the Oleomed when I was there.
Yes.
And there were a bunch of bobblehead dolls. I guess I shouldn't have.
Those were yours.
It was Larry Coker bobblehead dolls. Sorry, Beast. Why don't you guys on those sports shows grow up? Anyway, Oleomed is a great product. Speaking of your health, it's a soft gel capsule that contains pharmaceutical-grade olive oil along with vitamins and minerals and herbals, and they've got a separate product to promote health in each different part of your body. There's one for your prostate, for your heart, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your circulatory system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, your skin, your bones, even your mind. All using the benefits of pharmaceutical-grade olive oil, the best that you'll find anywhere. And, of course, because it's in a capsule, it's high potency. It doesn't oxidize. And Oleomed's got great products for men and ladies as well. Pick some up today. It's all over town because more and more people are popping it, and the capsules, too. Pick some up at Walgreens, Whole Food Markets, Navarro Pharmacy, and Sedano's. If you want more information about Oleomed, you can call their toll-free number and ask away at 1-866-OLEOMED, 1-866-OLEOMED. And don't forget, you can order their products on their world-famous website, oleomedamerica.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560 QAM.
I wouldn't believe a word Neil said if his tongue was notarized.
We're riding on fumes. What are you looking for? I'm looking for a Arabico station. Why Arabico? You gotta be kidding. I'm just one fill-up away from a Khalid bin Maflouj bobblehead doll.
Your Arabico dealer wants you to know that we're your eternal friends. Just fill your tank with Arabico and get a 9/11 commemorative bobblehead doll for only $9.95. You'll get a George W., Dick Cheney, Khalid bin Maflouj, and token Negro Condoleezza Rice. All come with a complimentary cardboard fold-out diorama of Ground Zero. Kids will love placing the bobblehead doll on top of where the buildings fell. Pipeline diorama sold separately. Collect the entire Carlisle group. Improve your car's performance with Arabico. And put a Saudi terrorist in your tank.
See, and right up until now, I always thought it was Clarence Thomas was the token Negro, but what do I know? 918 at 560 WQAM. Now, this book that I'm recommending, I do want to caution you ahead of time that, you know, the dietary part and the foods he recommends and the seaweed, well, it's not quite that extreme, but, you know, you're not going to go to that extreme, most of you. But nevertheless, the book is outstanding in terms of the information, and you'll read some of this stuff, you'll say, oh, my God, that's me. That is me. And then you look in the mirror and you say, that's me, and you say, oh, my God, again. Keep saying, can I just read one thing here? Because I don't want to discourage you from eating French fries if you like them, but...
You're not going to.
Well, I should. What have you got, some kind of a death wish?
Matter of fact.
Several commercial processing methods will turn good fats into killer fats. The three main ones are these. I'm not going to read all three. Well, it goes into the thing about frying. Oh. Hydrogenation. This process turns liquid oils into cheap, spreadable, shelf-stable fats. During the process, the essential fatty acids and others are twisted into molecules called trans fatty acids. Have we heard that on this show before?
Yes, of course.
That have never existed in nature in the forms present in margarines, shortening oils. Mama loves shortening. Remember that song?
Shortening bread.
And it's almost as good as Uncle Remus and Bluebird on My Shoulder. I can't stop singing that now.
Remus!
Partially hydrogenated vegetable oils and vegetable shortenings. Research on trans fatty acids shows a wide range of detrimental side effects. You want to hear the side effects?
Okay.
Trans fatty acids. And by the way, fried fats cause cancer and hardening of the arteries. When we fry food, we burn it. We change the chemistry of the oil molecules when smoke develops. I'm just telling you. Anyway, the side effects of trans fatty acids. They raise the level of LPA, the strongest known risk of cardiovascular disease, heart disease. They change the way our immune system works. They decrease testosterone, increase abnormal sperm, and interfere with pregnancy in animals. They correlate with low birth weight in human babies. They lower the quality of human breast milk. They interfere with liver enzymes necessary for detoxification. They change the fluidity of cell membranes, making them harder, slowing down their reactions, lowering cell vitality, making cell membranes more leaky, changing their permeability. They change the way our fat cells work. They make platelets more sticky. They increase cholesterol, increase LDL, the bad, and lower the HDL, the good. They interfere with functions of the essential fatty acids, which we require to be healthy. Other than that, they're pretty good, trans fatty acids.
They missed one.
What is that?
They make everything delicious.
They're in breads, candies, cakes, cookies, granola bars, crackers, digestive biscuits, pancake mixes, breakfast cereals, instant soups, chocolate bars, desserts, fruit cakes, chips, convenience and junk foods, peanuts and peanut butter, even in croutons. Law now listen to this. This is amazing. The law prohibits trans fatty acids from being used in baby foods. Are they not quite telling us something? How do you like that? And you want to know why? Because it probably would kill them.
Poison.
Anyway, well, thanks to Rich Pachter again, even though he sent me that little teeny tiny. You know something? The fact that he did send me that teeny tiny thing brought more of it to my attention. The Molly Ivins column from yesterday.
See, it was probably by design.
That's right. Thank you, Rich. You're a good guy no matter what Paul Harvey Jr. says, because we know George says Paul Harvey Jr. is an asshole. But anyway, Cheney Unqualified a Champion War in Iraq by Molly Ivins. Of course, she was the author of that book, Shrub, The Short but Happy Political Life of George W. Bush, which we have promoted on our great website, which wasn't so great yesterday, but it's a lot better today. And so anyway, I thought that column was so good that I'm going to read it again today. Not right now, but a little bit later.
Okay.
I thought it was,
Please.
I thought it was staggering. I thought it was just enough to make the hair grow on your anus.
Chilling.
Trespasser alert shuts chemical depot. Toole, Utah. Am I saying that right? T-O-O. Because they were talking about it yesterday, but I'd never heard them pronounce the town. An apparent intruder spotted at an army depot where chemical weapons are stored never got close to the area where nerve gas and other chemicals are kept, officials said. This should reassure us as we get close to 9/11. A terrorist alert was sounded yesterday, but Colonel Peter Cooper, commander of the Desert Chemical Depot, Oh, Desiree. I thought that said desert. Desiree Chemical Depot said the security of the depot was never at risk. Normal operations were resumed this morning. Well, let's see. It's only 6:22 in the morning out there, but I bet they're working on it right now. They're getting the gas going. At this time, we cannot confirm an intruder, Cooper said late yesterday. We're not sure if it was an employee who was not in the right area. The person fled after being spotted within the heavily guarded perimeter by 4 soldiers during 2 separate patrols, Cooper said. Well, wouldn't you think that was just probably some employee who wound up in the wrong area? But when they saw him, he just fled. He ran like... Yeah. In Washington, a senior administration official, speaking, of course, on condition of anonymity, said there was no evidence that anything was stolen or that terrorism was involved. The apparent trespasser, dressed in dark clothing, was sighted within a fenced area between the stored chemicals and the outer perimeter, authorities be saying. Sheriff's deputies set up a roadblock around the depot after the alarm sounded at 9:24 yesterday morning, their time, and state law officers combed the grounds in the night before calling off their search for the possible intruder. In other words, they never found him.
Huh.
Kind of like the people that slip through security, and they never find him, or somebody's bag is gone and they never find who's in it. The depot, which is about 45 miles southwest of Salt Lake City and covers 19,000 acres of mostly barren, windswept desert, has been destroying a stockpile of deadly chemicals. They've been, since 1996, they've been doing it. Earlier this year, it finished destroying the largest stockpile of sarin nerve gas in the U.S. It's scheduled to destroy 1,300 tons of VX, a more toxic but less volatile nerve agent, and 6,100 tons of mustard gas, a blistered agent that can dissolve tissue on contact, the same kind that Saddam used on his own people, by the way, on the Kurds.
Yes.
I just mentioned that in passing. Our good buddy Saddam, which I have a piece. Oh, man. So much stuff and so little time. I'm going to have to save it for a little bit later. Remember I told you about it before the show today from Scoop? From Scoop? And it's called what? I'm just stalling here until I find the goddamn thing.
That's all right.
Where the hell is it? Here it is. No, that's not it. That's General Ashcroft Detention Camp. Sorry. LSU fires Hatfield's boss. Still haven't found the goddamn thing. Troubling New Face of America by Jimmy Carter. How do you like that? I was ripping him the other day, and he writes a great column. Just like Eric with our website. I was ripping him an ass, a big fat ass.
It's my fault.
I can't even find the damn thing from Scoop. You know what? What the hell is it? Oh, here it is. How the U.S. Armed Saddam Hussein with Chemical Weapons by Norm Dixon. Oh, that's great. We'll get to it shortly. A lot of good stuff, not a whole lot of time. Although we're not talking too much, of course, about football. That's the problem on the show. Hey, by the way, Wenky's got a broken foot. Do you remember that day?
What day?
It was it last year? I don't remember when the hell he played for FSU because I don't pay any attention to that crap. We were doing a show and we're involved in whatever the conversation was back in the horrible days when we took calls on this show. And out of left field, this punk kid calls in, Wanky's got a broken foot, because the Hurricane FSU game was coming up. The Hurricanes and FSU, the Knowles.
No, I don't remember that.
Chris Wanky had a broken foot. And this kid was like so breathlessly, like we gave a crap about that on this show. We don't care about sports nerds, okay? Couldn't care less. Anyway, Senate approves plan to arm commercial pilots, even though George don't like it.
Oh, no, I like it fine.
Oh, I thought you said yesterday you didn't like it.
I was toying with the idea. I thought that
Are you starting to waffle a little bit now?
I was waffling, but no, I think it's a good idea.
Waffles I don't think are too good for you either. They have trans fatty acids. Anyway, the Senate voted overwhelmingly yesterday to allow commercial pilots to carry weapons in the cockpit after the Bush administration dropped its opposition to the idea. The administration, though, said a number of safety and logistical issues needed to be resolved. In a letter to 2 senators, the White House recommended giving pilots lock boxes. Oh, thank God for Al Gore. Lock boxes for the weapons so they won't be left in the cockpit. It also said only pilots who volunteer to carry weapons and receive extensive training should be armed, and they are absolutely correct, of course. Al Aitken, a pilot speaking for the 14,500-member union representing American Airlines pilots, which supports arming pilots, said the 87-6 vote meant the Senate recognized that all the security layers the administration is putting into place are still inadequate. The people who need the weapons as a last line of defense are the pilots, he'd be saying. They're the only ones they're trying to keep the gun from, he said, adding that thousands of state and federal law enforcement officers travel on planes while armed. Until the early 1960s, federal regulations required pilots to carry guns when they flew a plane carrying U.S. mail, Aitken said. The heads of 21 airlines, which opposed the measure, sent a letter to each senator Thursday saying they wanted to discuss the idea of arming pilots with Congress and the administration. It must be noted, however, that while we're spending literally billions of dollars to keep dangerous weapons off the aircraft, the idea of intentionally introducing thousands of deadly weapons into the system appears to be dangerously counterproductive, letters said. To address some of the airline's concerns, the administration suggested a detailed, effective training program be designed from scratch and tested before an estimated 85,000 pilots are before they're allowed to carry weapons. The administration also warned the cost to be significant, $900 million to start and $250 million annually thereafter, and said there is no money now in the TSA budget to cover the expenses. But maybe if we sell a lot more gas and a lot more oil, we can work it out somehow. You think?
No.
So when in doubt, gas it up right now. Let's see. Now, it's got a list here of the senators who voted against it. John Corsi, Democrat of New Jersey. James Jeffords, Independent of Vermont. Arlen Specter, he of the magic bullet theory, Republican of Pennsylvania. Teddy Kennedy, Jack Reed, Democrat of Rhode Island. Lincoln Chafee, Republican of Rhode Island. Not voting were Senators Daniel Akaka, Democrat of Hawaii. Joe Biden of Delaware, who's busy changing his name. Former baseball pitcher Jim Bunning, Republican of Kentucky, is probably worried about the baseball settlement. And it's signed, it's done, Jim. Just calm down. John Ensign of Nevada. Tom Harkin of Iowa. And Jesse Helms and Robert Torricelli. Doesn't it surprise you Jesse Helms wasn't for it?
That does surprise me.
Oh, no, he didn't vote. He'd be illin'. 927 at 560 WQM. Gary Sarner, by the way, is an asshole. Did I mention that yet today? I just mentioned that in passing now. VIPSportsbook.com is a name that should sound very familiar to you because we've been telling you about them for a very long time on this radio station. And VIPSportsbook.com is the only sportsbook to be endorsed by all the industry watchdog groups since way back in 1996. Well, it's not that far ago, but it's 6 years. It's a fair piece. The Casino Times News recent issue says you can look, but you won't find a better overall sports book than VIPSportsbook.com. But maybe you're looking for more than just a world-class leading book that offers 24-hour VIP service and the safety of a leader. How about this? How about the highest parlay odds you'll ever find anywhere up to 2001, minimum bets of only $5, and free withdrawals 24 hours a day, and a 15% cash bonus added to your first deposit. This isn't some jungle book located like an Opalaka. This is Dutch-based VIPSportsbook.com where you're treated with class and your money is safe. Sign up online and get you a 15% cash bonus added to your account or call them toll-free 866-VIP-BETS, B-E-T-S. Easy to get started. Just go to VIPSportsbook.com and don't forget when you do sign up online, you get yourself that 15% cash bonus. That's VIPSportsbook.com where you are the VIP.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Friday, you bastard.
Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up.
All right.
Pushes the shorty butt up.
Cheney said lay off the ventilators. He brought investigations to an end. They were getting too close to the tallow-headed, but he said the Texas for a barbecue again.
With George and Pop. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up.
If they don't impeach this corporate retard, 3,000 lives will never be avenged. Cause you brainwashed monkeys are so goddamn stupid, you'll put them back in office again.
What the f***? Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up.
Mr. ARP.
Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up. Pushes the shorty butt up.
Got your oyster, Barbation Goyim.
932 at 560 WQAM. See, I always hesitate there because I'm never really sure whether there's like one more little sound on his bits. Anyway, Jesuits to pay $7.5 million to two men who contended abuse.
All right.
Los Angeles, two mentally retarded men. You following that? Two mentally
I saw
retarded
that.
men who said they were sexually abused for years by Jesuits at a Northern California religious retreat will receive a total of $7.5 million for in an out-of-court settlement. The settlement, among the largest of its kind in a growing number of such cases, as we well know, was reached on Wednesday after about a year of negotiations between the California province of the Society of Jesus and lawyers representing the two men, who were identified only by pseudonyms John and James Doe. The two men, John is 56 and James now 51, had lived for nearly 30 years at the Sacred Heart Jesuit Center, which serves as a retirement home for some 60 priests in Los Gatos, California. Both had worked as dishwashers. They're earning about $8 an hour. Well, it's sure more than you make.
Yep.
No, and a lot more than Carlos Chuck is making there, whatever his name is. How come you came up with that Chuck crap?
Because we have two Carloses.
And we don't want to confuse anybody thinking that's Carlos with the 85 penis rings.
Right.
No amount of money will ever give them their life back, said Holly Ilse, who owns a dress shop in Los Gatos and filed a suit on behalf of John last year in Santa Clara County Superior Court. But it'll give them enough money to live comfortably for their remaining years. According to the lawsuit, the men were repeatedly subjected to over 30 years of sodomy, molestation, and false imprisonment. The suit, which was scheduled for trial October 15, it saw $10 million in damages, and they got $7.5. Here's a great letter, as whoever faxed this to me points out, and you're right, in the New Times this week, from a guy named Princely Mostegare, I can't read it, in Homestead. Princely something. A princely guy. It says, it appears that Reverend Richard Bennett Jr. has put his proverbial foot in his proverbial mouth. He states that he and some of his cult followers, yes, religions are just cults but with lots of members, you're right, want to repeal the 1998 ordinance that added the word sexual orientation to the county's human rights law. His ill-conceived logic is that homosexualists weren't born gay but rather chose that lifestyle. Well, if that's the case, then why is the word religion included in the very same ordinance that prohibits discrimination? Reverend Bennett, you weren't born a Christian, you chose that lifestyle. We were all human beings, and each of us has chosen a particular lifestyle. Nobody should rightfully be able to discriminate against any other human being simply because of the lifestyle he or she has chosen, period. And who's to say that Jesus wasn't gay? After all, he was never married, and some artists' conceptions of him depict him wearing what could be construed as a long white dress, longer than even what the Pope wears now. I'm a heterosexual, born-again, agnostic male, and I plan on voting no on September 10th, which will be my personal way of saying screw you to the likes of Reverend Bennett, take back Miami-Dade's communication director Eladio Jose Armesto, and all the other holier-than-thou assholes who inhabit this county. Nice letter, Princely. Oh! Nice going, baby. Just say no to a bigoted assholes in Dade County Tuesday, and let's cut the crap. Get over with already. God, just rehashing the same old over and over and over again. Gonna have to find some new scapegoats, okay? It's wearing pretty thin. Case of 13 and 14-year-old brothers accused of killing their father heads to jury. It's reached a head. Can we say that? The case against 13 and 14-year-old brothers accused of a deadly baseball bat attack on their fathers headed for the jury.
Did you watch any of the testimony?
No.
The graphic details of the head coming open and the brains oozing out?
No, but I read about it, but I didn't see the testimony. I read it in yesterday's stuff. Anyway, can I get to this or not?
Okay, no.
See, it's gory stuff. We don't want gory stuff. How's our poll coming, by the way, speaking of gory, because next Wednesday's the 11th. 52 votes. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11, next Wednesday? Nothing unusual, 31. I have no idea, 19. Another terrorist attack, only 2. See?
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of superstitious, paranoid maniacs in this audience. You think we do?
Yes.
Deliberations are set to begin today in the first-degree murder trial of Alex and Derek King, who face mandatory life in prison without parole if convicted. An unusual twist, it's the second trial in the same killing. I still don't understand how they can do this. Do you?
No.
They've had, the other trial is already concluded, the verdict is sealed, and now they're trying to, it's like mix and match. Well,
right.
We'll trial a whole bunch of people and see which ones we can get a conviction on.
And they could all get off.
Right, and then they'll say, oh, well, nobody did it. It was suicide. Convicted child molester Ricky Chavez, 40, was also tried under a completely different theory of the crime, that he wielded the aluminum bat that killed Terry King. The verdict reached last week, and his trial was sealed until the King brothers' trial ends. He faces the same sentence. Yesterday, prosecutor David Rimmer asked jurors not to be swayed by anger with Chavez. You don't like Chavez, Rimmer said? Nobody likes Chavez. Chavez is the kind of guy everybody wants to hate. What's lower than a child molester? Firefighters found the body of Terry King, also 40, on a recliner inside his burning home, and the brothers confessed to police a day after the slaying. The pair now say that Chavez was the real killer. But Rimmer said the boys were telling the truth the first time and that their confessions are filed with a kind of detail only someone who was there would have known. Defense lawyers contended that the boys confessed to protect Chavez and parroted what he had coached them to say. They had included such gory details, like you were referring to before, as being able to see through the victim's brain through a hole in his head and the raspy sound of his last gasps. And the raspy sound of his last gasps. Everyone in the courtroom can repeat those details, said James Stokes, Alice's lawyer. The boys' stories line up because the boys' stories are rehearsed. The boys changed their stories more than 4 months after the murder, telling a grand jury that Chavez killed Terry King while the brothers hid in the trunk of his car. The grand jury then indicted Chavez. Rimmer argued that Derek swung the bat while Alex urged him to commit the killing, just as the brothers had originally confessed. Earlier yesterday, Derek King took the witness stand only to tell Circuit Judge Frank Bell he would not testify in his own defense. Yes, sir, it was my decision, he said in a clear, strong voice. Yes, sir, it was my decision. His soft-spoken brother testified Wednesday that the boys took the blame because they wanted to live with Chavez. He had told them they would be exonerated by claiming self-defense because they're juveniles. Both boys testified against Chavez last week. Sharon Potter, one of Derek King's lawyers, said in her closing argument that the boys had no motive to kill their father, but that Chavez did. She said Chavez wanted to keep Terry King from finding out he was having sex with Alex. Rimmer said the boys' motive was to escape a controlling father and live with Chavez, who allowed the boys to play video games, stay up late watching TV, and smoke wicked weed when they went to his house and running away from home 10 days before the killing. He also pointed to Alex's affection for Chavez, reading from several love letters he had written, including one that ended, "Before I met Rick, I was straight, but now I am gay." How do you like that, huh? Man, bizarre. Very strange. I still don't understand. Last night on MSNBC, they had Alan Dershowitz debating some bitch on this.
Yes.
And I still have no idea what they were saying. And they were screaming and talking at the same time. That's what they love. See, the host of those shows, I think it was Chris Matthews, it was softball. They always pretend that they're trying to, like, referee it and don't get them to talk at the same time. But they love that when they start shouting and they're shouting over each other and they get like you can see the veins getting ready to pop out of their neck. Kind of like most varicose veins. Anyway, it's 21 till 10 at 560 WQM on a great Friday. And, you know, another great thing about not taking calls is I'm thinking that this right now, this next several days, this every year was one of the worst times.
Sure, the dead
zone. In begging for calls, the dead zone, because it was the Jew zone. Not that we have that big of a Jewish audience out there, but I think even the Goyim celebrate the Jewish holidays. See, I celebrate New Year January 1. I don't know about you. But at any rate, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and they're doing this, and, you know, nobody had time to call us. So we don't care. Don't call us because we'll call you, or not. Hey, if you love your home but you're looking to have more space because you got stuff coming up in your life, what do? Do what hundreds of other people are doing right now, hundreds of smart people, and call Strictly Additions. Whether you're having a baby and need another room, if you're converting your carport or patio into living space, if you're going into business for yourself and want to make a home office, call Strictly Additions. They're your one-stop shop, more space for your place with an absolutely worry-free approach to expanding your living space. Those no-shows by the contractors that you've experienced in the past ain't going to happen. Incomplete work, no chance. No unexpected bills, no worries about the job not getting done right, and Strictly Additions takes care of every detail. They draw up your blueprints, they get the building permits, handle all the inspections. Strictly Additions has got an easy 5-step approach to total customer satisfaction. First of all, they call to schedule a free project evaluation appointment at your home where a project estimator will determine the scope of your addition. Number 2, they schedule a bid appointment in their convenient showroom where you get a detailed proposal and an exact price for your work. Number 3, select your finishing touches, go to contract. Number 4, review the design architectural drawings. And then number 5, sit back on your lazy fat ass and relax as your dream addition moves ahead on schedule with unbeatable quality. It's a piece of cake. It's as easy as falling off a log. So give Strictly Additions a call today at 954-791-8100. That's 954-791-8100. Check out their ad in the Yellow Pages if you like. They're licensed and insured professionals who do sensational work. 954-791-8100, and be sure and tell them that P.D. Lenny and Fat Old Neil told you to call.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAQAM.
At the honey, Junior.
Spreading my crack on the party. On the toilet, ripping the seat in pain. Marrow's dropping out of my body. Veins popping out of my neck as I strain. Oh, the peanut butter and stromboli with paprika and the pepperoni has got me straining and the rolling with burning roars. My back body is writhing, breaking the sweat. My bowels are losing control. Feel like I'm close to dying. The burning, spewing out my hole. I gotta lift my leg up higher. My asshole feels like it's on fire, and I feel just like I'm dying from burning roar. I got a chunk of 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 burning roar. I got a rip.
And of course, as we discovered on our show yesterday, remember that fact we had about the hemorrhoids and what they really are? Varicose veins. Which I've been trying to tell you for years, and you always laughed at me. They're varicose veins in your rectum. Ass is what hemorrhoids are. Boy. Anyway, here's this article by Molly Ivins that Rich Pachter faxed to me yesterday. It was in the Herald, and it's good enough to read, I think, every day. She says, excuse me, I don't want to be tacky or anything, but hasn't it occurred to anyone in Washington that sending Vice President Dick Cheney out to champion an invasion of Iraq on the grounds that Saddam Hussein is a murderous dictator is somewhere between bad taste and flaming hypocrisy? When Cheney was CEO of the oilfield supply firm Halliburton, the company did $23.8 million in business with Hussein, the evildoer, prepared to share his weapons of mass destruction with terrorists. So if Hussein is the world's worst leader, how come Cheney sold him the equipment to get his dilapidated oil fields up and running so he could afford to build weapons of mass destruction? In 1998, the UN passed a resolution allowing Iraq to buy spare parts for its oil fields, but other sanctions remained in place, and the U.S. has consistently pressured the UN to stop exports of medicine and other needed supplies on the grounds that they could have dual use. As the former Secretary of Defense under President Bush the Elder, Cheney was in a particularly vulnerable position on the hypocrisy of doing business with Iraq. Although in 1991, after the Gulf War, he told a group of oil industry executives that he was emphatically against trying to topple Hussein. Using two subsidiaries, Dresser Rand and Ingersoll Dresser, Halliburton helped rebuild Hussein's war-damaged oil fields. The combined value of these contracts for parts and equipment was greater than that of any other American company doing business with Iraq, companies including Schlumberger, Flowserve, Fisher-Rosemont, General Electric. They acted through foreign subsidiaries or associated companies in France, Belgium, Germany, India, Switzerland, Bahrain, Egypt, and the Netherlands. In several cases, it's clear that the European companies did no more than loan their names to American firms for the purpose of dealing with Hussein. Iraq then became America's second-largest Middle Eastern oil supplier. This story was initially reported by the Financial Times of London more than 2 years ago and has since been more extensively reported in the European press. But as we've seen with the case of Harkin Energy and many other stories, there's a difference between a story having been reported and having attention being paid to it, a distinction many journalists have troubles with. Thus, the administration was able to dismiss the new information on shady dealings at Harkin as old news because not much attention was ever paid when the old news was new news. When Cheney left Halliburton, he received a $34 million severance package, despite the fact that the single biggest deal of his 5-year career there, the acquisition of Dresser Industries, turned out to be a huge blunder because the company came saddled with asbestos liability. On the campaign trail, Cheney often claimed he'd been out in the private sector creating jobs. The first thing he did after the Dresser merger was lay off 10,000 people. Halliburton, America's #1 oil services company, is the nation's 5th largest military contractor and the biggest non-union employer in the entire country. It employs more than 100,000 workers worldwide and does more than $15 billion a year. Halliburton under Cheney dealt with several brutal dictatorships, including the despicable government of Burma. The company also played questionable roles in Algeria, Angola, Bosnia, Croatia, Haiti, Somalia, and Indonesia. Halliburton also had dealings with Iran and Libya, both on the State Department's list of terrorist states. Halliburton's subsidiary, Brown & Root, the old Texas construction firm that does much business with the U.S. military, was fined $3.8 million for re-exporting goods to Libya in violation of U.S. sanctions. If you want to know why the Democrats didn't jump over this story and make a big deal out of it, it's because, as usual, Democrats are involved in similar dealings. Former CIA Director John Deutsch is on the board of Schlumberger, the second-largest oil services firm after Halliburton, which is also doing business with Iraq through subsidiaries. Americans have long been aware that corporate money has consistently corrupted domestic policy in favor of corporate interest and that both parties are enthralled to huge corporate campaign donors. We are less accustomed to connecting the dots when it comes to foreign policy. But there is no more evidence that corporations pay attention to anything other than profits in their foreign dealings than they do in their domestic deals. Enron, as usual, provides some textbook examples of just how indifferent to human rights American companies can be. Halliburton's dealings in Nigeria in partnership with Shell and Chevron provide just another example, including gross human rights violations and environmental abuses. No one is ever going to argue that Hussein is a good guy, but Cheney is not the right man to make the case against him. I've never understood why the Washington Press Corps can't remember anything for longer than 10 minutes, but hearing Cheney denounce Hussein is truly give us a break time, writes Molly Ivins. It was in yesterday's Herald.
All right.
There you go. L.A. Times says gang member killed Tupac. Remember old Tupac? Boy, that was a long time ago. You know, it's like 6 years ago. In fact, it's 6 years ago tomorrow.
Oh!
Speaking of big anniversaries, how come we don't have a big thing about Tupac like we did on Elvis?
I don't know. Why not?
Let's do it. Maybe we will tomorrow. A Los Angeles Times investigation of the long-unsolved murder of Tupac Shakur concluded that his killer was a gang member who used a pistol provided by rival rapper, the Notorious B.I.G. No arrest had been made in Shakur's death following the September 7, 1996 shooting near the Vegas Strip. The Times, which said it interviewed members of the Southside Crips, who had never before spoken out about the killing, reported that the fatal shots were fired by a Crip named Orlando Anderson, whom Shakur and his bodyguards had beaten in a Las Vegas hotel hours before the shooting. The newspaper said B.I.G. had agreed to pay the gang $1 million to kill Shakur, his rival in a feud between East Coast and West Coast rappers. Oh, every time I hear that, it makes me, I don't even want to gag.
It makes me laugh.
It makes me sick. It makes me think of every ugly stereotype about black people that anybody's ever heard of in their lives. The 24-year-old B.I.G., whose real name was Christopher Wallace, was shot to death 6 months later in Los Angeles, a killing that also remains unsolved. Anderson, 21, of Compton, was killed in 1998 in an unrelated gang shooting. Anderson and Wallace had both denied involvement in Shakur's murder. Las Vegas police interviewed Anderson once, but said they couldn't build a case against him because witnesses in Shakur's entourage weren't cooperating. A police spokesman did not immediately return a call for comment yesterday. He's with Greg. He's not returning calls. Shakur was riding in a car with Death Row Records co-founder Marion Surge Knight after attending a Mike Tyson fight when another car pulled alongside and somebody inside opened fire. According to the Times reconstruction of the killing based on police affidavits, court records, and interviews with witnesses and investigators, the Crips approached Wallace in hopes of making money from the killing after they'd already decided to carry it out to avenge the beating. Wallace and Shakur, once close friends, have been feuding for more than a year and had exchanged insults in recordings at concerts and award shows. According to the Times, Shakur and his entourage had jumped Anderson to avenge an earlier beating of one of Shakur's bodyguards at a shopping mall. The assault was captured on a hotel security camera. They hit us, we hit him back. Anderson declined to file a complaint. Instead, the Times said he telephoned other Crips and set up a meeting at a hotel room where they decided to kill Shakur that night. The gang then set up a meeting with B.I.G., who was in town, asked for $1 million, according to people who said they were present. The newspaper said B.I.G. agreed on the condition a .40 caliber pistol he was carrying be used in the killing. He wanted the satisfaction of knowing his own gun fired the fatal bullets, the Times said. Since the shooting, rumors about Shakur's killing continue to spread among hip-hop fans. Some even contend that he faked his own death to escape the pressures of fame and troubles with the law, just like Elvis faked his own death.
Right.
3 days before his own murder on March 9, 1997, Wallace discussed his feud with Shakur in an interview with a San Francisco radio station. Asked whether he had a role in Shakur's death, Wallace said he wasn't that powerful yet. And I guess he isn't now either, because he's still dead. There you go, the East Coast rappers against the West Coast rappers. That just, I'm telling you, it just sends me. It just sends me right to the magic bowl. Sources say Baghdad may be years from making a device, says CNN. U.S. sources with knowledge of Iraq's military capabilities said they are unaware of new information about the Baghdad government's efforts to develop nuclear weapons, but added that U.S. intelligence may be reassessing that threat. President Bush hinted Wednesday that the urgency behind recent calls for a regime change in Iraq are based on signs that Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein has not made good on promises to disarm and disavow weapons of mass destruction, assurances dating back to the end of the Persian Gulf War, and President Bush won. Bush summoned top lawmakers to the White House Wednesday and told them he would seek approval from Congress at the appropriate time on what to do about Saddam. The Bush administration has accused the Iraqi leader of amassing weapons of mass destruction in violation of UN resolutions ending the Gulf War. Sources said they would not rule out the possibility that the White House may ask for a new assessment of any Iraqi nuclear threat. The latest assessment from the CIA is believed to be the freshest analysis of Iraq's military resources. Initially distributed to the White House and members of Congress and released public in January, the report refers to several weapon systems and equipment considered a threat, including Iraqi drones or pilotless planes that could be used to deliver biological or chemical agents. The CIA described them as refurbished trainer aircraft that are believed to have been modified for delivery of chemical or more likely biological warfare agents. But U.S. officials in January said that the drones would not be especially effective because of problems delivering such agents. One source suggested Saddam is kidding himself if he expects to kill large numbers of people using those planes for chemical or biological warfare. Let me say it again. The headline says, sources say Baghdad may be years from making a device. But we're in a hurry, and you want to hear another story that proves that we're in a hurry?
Okay.
Good. From CBS News. Plans for Iraq attack began on 9/11. CBS News has learned that barely 5 hours after American Airlines Flight 77 plowed into the Pentagon, Defense Secretary Donald H. Rumsfeld was telling his aides to come up with plans for striking Iraq, even though there was no evidence linking Saddam Hussein to the attacks. That's according to notes taken by aides who were with Rumsfeld in the National Military Command Center on 9/11, notes that show exactly where the road toward war with Iraq began, reports CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. At 9:53 a.m. on 9/11 last year, just 15 minutes after the hijacked plane hit the Pentagon, and while Rumsfeld was still outside helping with the injured, the National Security Agency, which monitors communications worldwide, intercepted a phone call from one of Osama bin Laden's operatives in Afghanistan to a phone number in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. The caller said he had heard good news and that another target was still to come, an indication he knew another airliner, the one that eventually crashed in Pennsylvania, was at that very moment zeroing in on Washington. It was 12:05 p.m. when the Director of Central Intelligence told Rumsfeld about the intercepted conversation. Rumsfeld felt it was vague, that it might not mean something, and that there was no good basis for a hanging hat. In other words, the evidence wasn't clear-cut enough to justify military action against bin Laden. But later that afternoon, the CIA reported the passenger manifest for the hijacked airliner showed 3 of the hijackers were suspected al-Qaeda operatives. One guy is associate of Cole Bomber, the notes say, a reference to the October 2000 suicide boat attack on the USS Cole in Yemen, which had also been the work of bin Laden. With the intelligence all pointing toward bin Laden, Rumsfeld ordered the military to begin working on strike plans, and at 2:40 p.m., the notes quoted Rumsfeld as saying he wanted the best info fast. Judge whether good enough hit SH, meaning Saddam Hussein, at the same time, not only UBL, meaning Osama bin Laden. Now, nearly a year later, there's still very little evidence Iraq was involved in 9/11 attacks, but if these notes are accurate, that didn't matter to Rumsfeld. Go massive, the notes quote him as saying, sweep it all up, things related and not related. Not that he's a madman, but we just mentioned that in passing. 9:56 at 560 WQM. Delights of West Boca. Speaking of losing weight, speaking of fat, speaking of unhealthy people. Delights is the only store that I know of that's devoted entirely to helping you lose your weight with low carbohydrate and no carbohydrate foods. It's your official Atkins retail center. And they want to remind you that all Atkins brand products are 25% off at Delights today and tomorrow and next Sukkot and every day. Delights carries the complete line of Atkins diet products as well as over 500 delicious low-carb and sugar-free foods. As reported recently in the New York Times, CNN, Dateline NBC, CBS News, Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, the Atkins diet continues to be one of today's most popular and successful diets. Low-carb dieting finally has received the respect it deserves, and Delights of West Boca has been the leader in low-carb, sugar-free dieting for years and years now. Over 100,000 of their customers will testify there's no better store, there's no real competition, and Delights will not be undersold. Don't forget when you go into Delights, you can sample a little of this, a little of that before you buy it, too. Delights' friendly and knowledgeable staff will walk you through the store, point you in the right direction, and cheer you on as you turn into like a slim, living and breathing human being. Don't forget there's only one Delights of West Boca, open 7 days a week till 10 p.m., and you can find them on the northeast corner of Glades Road and 441 in Boca. Call 1-877-LOW-CARB or check them out on the web if you like at lowcarb.com. Don't forget that's Delights of West Boca, your official Atkins Diet retail center.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
You're gay.
Rainbow flags and earrings in my right ear. Am I queer? People stop and stare when we are near. Homophobia, we're just living life the way we want to. It's 'cause I'm gay and that is all. Why people say those nasty, nasty things they do. It's 'cause I'm gay and that is all. It's just something they can't approve. Flaming screamers dressed up all in drag. It's so sad. They're the ones that make us all look bad. Oh, so bad. We're just living life the way we want to. It's 'cause I'm gay and that is all. It's why they say those nasty things they do. It's 'cause I'm gay and that is all. But it could be so hard inside you. Oh yes, so hard inside you. Inside.
Rectum.
10:01 at 560 WQM. Happy Friday to you. Happy Jewish New Year, etc. and so on. Why do I keep saying that?
I don't know.
I don't celebrate these holidays. There's some people out there that, it's tradition. Why do we do it? It's tradition.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. This is from Scoop.com, and the article is written by Norm Dixon, who writes for the Green Left Weekly, Australia's radical newspaper. And you were telling me that you've checked out articles on Scoop?
Long time ago, yeah, somebody told me about them.
It's pretty interesting. There are a lot of great websites out there. Anyway, this is long. It's 8 pages.
Okay.
8 long, but you know something that's pretty interesting. How the U.S. armed Saddam Hussein with chemical weapons. On August 18th, the New York Times carried a front-page story headlined, "Officials say U.S. aided Iraq despite the use of gas." Quoting anonymous U.S. senior military officers, the New York Times revealed that in the 1980s, the administration of U.S. President Ronald Reagan covertly provided critical battle planning assistance at a time when American intelligence knew that Iraqi commanders would employ chemical weapons in waging the decisive battles of the Iran-Iraq War. The story made a brief splash in the international media and then died. While the August 18th New York Times article added new details about the extent of U.S. military collaboration with the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein during Iraq's 1980-88 war with Iran, it omitted the most outrageous aspect of the scandal. Not only did Washington turn a blind eye to the Hussein regime's repeated use of chemical weapons against Iranian soldiers and Iraq's Kurdish minorities, but the U.S. helped Iraq develop its chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons programs. Nor did the New York Times dwell on the extreme cynicism and hypocrisy of the current U.S. administration's citing of those same terrible atrocities which were disregarded at the time by Washington, and those same weapons programs which no longer exist, having been dismantled and destroyed in the decade following the 1991 Gulf War, to justify a massive new war against the people of Iraq, which, if I can just interject, sounds awfully familiar, just like our coziness with the Taliban up until a year ago. A reader of the New York Times article, or the tens of thousands of other articles written after the latest war drive against Iraq began in earnest soon after 9/11, would have looked in vain for the fact that many of the U.S. politicians and ruling class pundits demanding war against Hussein today, in particular the most bellicose of the Bush administration's hawks, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, were up to their ears in Washington's efforts to cultivate, promote, and excuse Hussein in the past. The New York Times article read as though Washington's casual disregard about the use of chemical weapons by Hussein's dictatorship throughout the 1980s had never been reported before. However, it was not the first time that Iraqgate, as the scandal of U.S. military and political support for Hussein in the 80s has been dubbed, has raised its embarrassing head in the corporate media, only to be quickly buried again. One of the more comprehensive and damning accounts of Iraqgate was written by Douglas France and Murray Wass and published in February 23, 1992, L.A. Times headline, Bush secret effort helped Iraq build its war machine. The article reported that classified documents obtained by the L.A. Times show a long secret pattern of personal efforts by George Bush Sr., both as president and vice president, to support and placate the Iraqi dictator. Even William Safire, the right-wing warmongering New York Times columnist, on December 7, 1992, felt compelled to write that Iraqgate is uniquely horrendous, a scandal about the systematic abuse of power by misguided leaders of three democratic nations, the U.S., Britain, and Italy, to secretly finance the arms buildup of a dictator. The background of Iraqgate was the January 1979 popular uprising that overthrew the cravenly pro-U.S. Shah of Iran. The Iranian Revolution threatened U.S. imperialism's domination of the strategic oil-rich region. Other than Israel, Iran had long been Washington's key ally in the Middle East. Washington immediately began to cast about for ways to undermine or overthrow the Iranian Revolution or make up for the loss of the Shah. Hussein's regime put up its hand. On September 22, 1980, Iraq launched an invasion of Iran. Throughout the bloody 8-year-long war, which cost at least 1 million lives, Washington backed Iraq. As a 1990 report prepared for the Pentagon by the Strategic Studies Institute of the U.S. War College admitted, throughout the Iran-Iraq war, the United States practiced a fairly benign policy toward Iraq. Washington and Baghdad wanted to restore the status quo ante that prevailed before the 1979 Iranian Revolution began threatening the regional balance of power. Khomeini's revolutionary appeal was anathema to both Baghdad and Washington, hence they wanted to get rid of him. United by a common interest, the U.S. began to actively assist Iraq. At first, as Iraqi forces seemed headed for victory over Iran, U.S. official policy was neutrality in the conflict. Not only was Hussein doing Washington's dirty work in the war with Iran, but the U.S. rulers believed that Iraq could be lured away from its close economic and military relationship with the Soviet Union, just as Egypt's President Sadat had done in the 70s. In March of 81, U.S. Secretary of State Alexander Haig, I'm in charge here, Haig, excitedly told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that Iraq was concerned by the behavior of Soviet imperialism in the Middle East region. The Soviet government had refused to deliver arms to Iraq as long as Baghdad continued its military offensive against Iran. Moscow was also unhappy with Hussein's vicious repression of the Iraqi Communist Party. Washington's support, innocuously referred to as a tilt at the time for Iraq, became more open after Iran succeeded in driving Iraqi forces from its territory in May of 1982. In June, Iraq went on the offensive against Iraq. The U.S. scrambled to stem Iraq's military setbacks. Washington and its conservative Arab allies suddenly feared Iran might even defeat Iraq or at least cause the collapse of Hussein's regime. Using its allies in the Middle East, Washington funneled huge supplies of arms to Iraq. Classified State Department cables uncovered by Wass discovered covert transfers of howitzers, helicopters, bombs, and other weapons to Baghdad in 1982-83 from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Kuwait. Howard Teicher, who monitored Middle East policy at the U.S. National Security Council during the Reagan administration, told the February 23, 1992 L.A. Times there was a conscious effort to encourage third countries to ship U.S. arms or acquiesce in shipments after the fact. It was a policy of nods and winks. According to Mark Pythian's 1997 book, Arming Iraq, How the U.S. and Britain Secretly Built Saddam's War Machine, Northeastern University Press, in 1983 asked Italy's Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti to channel arms to Iraq. The January 1, 1984 Washington Post reported that the U.S. had informed friendly Persian Gulf nations that the defeat of Iraq in the 3-year war with Iran would be contrary to U.S. interest and has made several moves to prevent that result. Central to these moves was the cementing of a military and political alliance with Saddam Hussein's repressive regime so as to build up Iraq as a military counterweight to Iran. In 1982, the Reagan administration removed Iraq from the State Department's list of countries that allegedly supported terrorism. On December 19th and 20th, 1983, Reagan dispatched his Middle East envoy, none other than Donald Rumsfeld, to Baghdad with a handwritten offer of a resumption of diplomatic relations, which had been severed during the 1967 Arab-Israel War. On March 24th, 1984, Rumsfeld was again in Baghdad. On that same day, the UPI wire service reported from the UN, mustard gas laced with a nerve agent has been used on Iranian soldiers, a team of UN experts has concluded. Meanwhile, in the Iraqi capital of Baghdad, U.S. presidential envoy Donald Rumsfeld held talks with Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz. The day before, Iran had accused Iraq of poisoning 600 of its soldiers with mustard gas and Tabo nerve gas. There's no doubt that the U.S. government knew Iraq was using chemical weapons. On March 5, 1984, the State Department had stated that the available evidence indicates that Iraq has used lethal chemical weapons. The March 30th, 1984 New York Times reported that U.S. intelligence officials has what they believe incontrovertible evidence that Iraq has used nerve gas in its war with Iran and has almost finished extensive sites for mass producing the lethal chemical warfare agent. However, consistent with the pattern throughout the Iran-Iraq war and after, the use of these internationally outlawed weapons was not considered important enough by Rumsfeld and his political superiors to halt Washington's blossoming love affair with Hussein. The March 29, 1984 New York Times, reporting on the aftermath of Rumsfeld's talks in Baghdad, stated that U.S. officials had pronounced themselves satisfied with relations between Iraq and the U.S. and suggested normal diplomatic ties have been restored in all but name. In November 1984, the U.S. and Iraq officially restored diplomatic relations. According to the Washington Post journalist Bob Woodward, in a December 15, 1986 article, the CIA began to secretly supply Iraq with intelligence in 1984 that was used to calibrate mustard gas attacks on Iranian troops. Beginning in early 1985, the CIA provided Iraq with data from sensitive U.S. satellite reconnaissance photography to assist Iraqi bombing raids. Iraqi chemical attacks on Iranian troops and U.S. assistance to Iraq continued throughout the Iran-Iraq war. In a parallel program, the U.S. Defense Department also provided intelligence and battle planning assistance to Iraq. I'm going to stop there and do the break, okay?
Okay.
It's long, but I think it's worthwhile.
Yes.
10 minutes after 10 at 560 WQM, where we're always a real gas. 118 votes on the poll today on NeilRogers.com. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11? Nothing unusual, 72. I have no idea, 41. And another terrorist attack.
Oi!
5. You've heard me talk about becoming a high-paid computer professional many, many, many times, like probably 1 trillion times at least. You've heard me talk about the large number of jobs out there in this great new industry that are waiting for you. The question is, how do you find yourself a great school that'll help you accomplish this and get in this field and start making some serious cash? There's only one school that's got 4 convenient locations all over Dayton, Broward, including that spiffy brand new one in Kendall. There's only one school that's got certified Microsoft instructors, convenient day, evening, and weekend classes for you, too. There's one school that's got full-time placement department with over 30 years' experience. And with this school, you can complete your program and get certified in just 4 short months. This is real hands-on training we're talking about at Fast Train. That's right. Get off your butt, pick up the phone, and call Fast Train today. Get out of your dead-end job and start finding yourself a real money-making job and a real life. Call Fast Train today. Tell them that old Neil told you to call 1-866-FAST-TRAIN or check them out on the web if you like at fasttrain.com.
Live and local. This is 560.
The radio's all yours now.
QAM.
We're a bastard.
Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker. Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker.
All right.
Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker.
You turd.
Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker. Iraq's a crappy little country. Smells like the mustache on his face. Just get rid of that. You're in drinking chubby and blow up the whole goddamn place.
Oh!
Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker. 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 Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker.
Oh!
Saddam Hussein's a motherfucker.
You know, just in case my close bald-headed friend Tom Jick is listening, you know, I had to choose between reading some of these articles today or giving the TV cooking show schedule. And I thought long and hard. It was a tough call.
You know,
and
you could do both.
I flipped a coin, and it just turned out, it just came out this way. Anyway, picking up where I left off, this article again, you can find it on www.scoop.com by Norm Dixon, How the U.S. Armed Saddam Hussein with Chemical Weapons. The August 17, 2002 New York Times reported that according to senior military officers with direct knowledge of the program, even though senior officials of the Reagan administration publicly condemned Iraq's employment of mustard gas, sarin, VX, and other poisonous agents, President Reagan, Vice President George Bush Sr., and senior national security aides never withdrew their support for the highly classified program in which more than 60 officers of the Defense Intelligence Agency were secretly providing detailed information on Iranian deployments, tactical planning for battles, plans for airstrikes, and bomb damage assessments for Iraq. Retired DIA officer Rick Francona told the New York Times that Iraq's chemical weapons were used in the war's final battle in early 1988, in which Iraqi forces took the Fao Peninsula from the Iranian army. Another retired DIA officer, Walter Lang, told the Times that the use of gas on the battlefield by the Iraqis was not a matter of deep strategic concern. What concerned the DIA, the CIA, and the Reagan administration was that Iran not break through the Fao Peninsula and spread the Islamic Revolution to Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Iraq's 1982 removal from Washington's official list of states that support terrorism meant that the Hussein regime was now eligible for U.S. economic and military aid and was able to purchase advanced U.S. technology that could also be used for military purposes. Conventional military sales resumed in December of 82. In 1983, the Reagan administration approved the sale of 60 Hughes helicopters to Iraq in 1983 for civilian use. However, as Pythian pointed out, these aircraft could be weaponized within hours of delivery. Then U.S. Secretary of State George Shultz and Commerce Secretary George Baldridge also lobbied for delivery of Bell helicopters equipped for crop spraying. It's believed that U.S. supplied choppers were used in the 1988 chemical attack on the Kurdish village of Halabja, which killed 5,000 people. With the Reagan administration's connivance, Baghdad immediately embarked on a massive militarization drive. This U.S.-endorsed military spending spree began even before Iraq was delisted as a terrorist state, when the U.S. Commerce Department approved the sale of Italian gas turbine engines for Iraq's naval frigates. Soon after, the U.S. Agriculture Department's Commodity Credit Corporation guaranteed to repay loans in the event of defaults by Baghdad. Banks had made to Iraq to buy U.S.-grown commodities such as wheat and rice. Under this scheme, Iraq had 3 years to repay the loans, and if it could not, the U.S. taxpayers would have to cough up the cash. Washington offered this aid initially to prevent Hussein's overthrow by the Iraqi people as they began to complain about the food shortages caused by the massive diversion of hard currency for the purchase of weapons and ammunition. The loan guarantees amounted to a massive U.S. subsidy that allowed Hussein to launch his overt and covert arms buildup, one result being that the Iran-Iraq war entered a bloody 5-year stalemate. By the end of 1983, $402 million in Agriculture Department loan guarantees for Iraq were approved. In 1984, this increased to $503 million and reached $1.1 billion in 1988. Between 1983 and 1990, CCC loan guarantees freed up more than $5 billion. Some $2 billion in bad loans plus interest ended up having to be covered by the U.S. taxpayers. A similar taxpayer-funded, though smaller-scale scam operated under the auspices of the Federal Export-Import Bank. In 1984, Vice President George Bush Sr. personally intervened to ensure that the bank guaranteed loans to Iraq of $500 million to build an oil pipeline. Export-Import Bank loan guarantees grew from $35 million in 1985 to $267 million by 1990. According to William Blum, writing in the August 1998 issue of The Progressive, Sam Gedstenson, chairperson of the Congressional Subcommittee investigating U.S. exports to Iraq, disclosed that from 1985 till 1990, the U.S. government approved 771 licenses, only 39 were rejected, for the export to Iraq of $1.5 billion worth of biological agents and high-tech equipment with military application. The U.S. spent virtually an entire decade making sure that Saddam Hussein had almost whatever he wanted. U.S. export control policy was directed by U.S. foreign policy as formulated by the State Department, and was U.S. foreign policy to assist the regime of Saddam Hussein. A 1994 U.S. Senate report revealed that U.S. companies were licensed by the Commerce Department to export a witch's brew of biological and chemical materials, including Bacillus anthracus, which causes anthrax, and Clostridium botulinum. Whatever it is, the source of botulism.
Okay.
Let me try it again. Clostridium botulinum. Very good. The source of botulism. Got it?
Got it.
American Type Culture Collection made 70 shipments of the anthrax bug and other pathogenic agents. The report also noted that U.S. exports to Iraq included the precursors to chemical warfare agents, plans for chemical and biological warfare facilities, and chemical warhead filling equipment. U.S. firms supplied advanced and specialized computers, lasers, testing, and analyzing equipment. Among the better-known companies were Hewlett-Packard, Unisys, Data General, and Honeywell. Get to Honeywell, Junior. Billions of dollars worth of raw materials, machinery, and equipment, missile technology, and other dual-use items also were supplied by West Germany, French, Italian, British, Swiss, and Austrian corporations with the approval of their governments. German firms even sold Iraq entire factories capable of mass-producing poison gas. And if anybody should know how to mass-produce poison gas, it's the good old Troymans. Much of this was produced with funds freed by the U.S. CCC credits. The destination of much of this equipment was Saad-16 near Mosul in northern Iraq. Western intelligence agencies had long known that the sprawling complex was Iraq's main ballistic missile development center. Blum reported that Washington was fully aware of the likely use of this material. In 1992, a U.S. Senate committee learned that the Commerce Department had deleted references to military end use from information it sent to Congress about 68 export licenses worth more than $1 billion. In 1986, the U.S. Defense Department's Deputy Undersecretary for Trade Security, Steve Bryan, had objected to the export of an advanced computer similar to those used in the U.S. missile program to SOD-16 because of the high likelihood of military end use. The State and Commerce Departments approved the sale without conditions anyway. In his book, The Death Lobby, How the West Armed Iraq, Kenneth Timmerman points out that several U.S. agencies were supposed to review U.S. exports that may be detrimental to U.S. national security. However, the Commerce Department often did not submit exports to Hussein's Iraq for review or approve them despite objections from other government departments. On March 16, 1988, Iraqi forces launched a poison gas attack on the Iraqi Kurdish village of Halabja, killing 5,000 people. While that attack is today being touted by senior U.S. officials as one of the main reasons why Hussein must now be taken out, at the time, Washington's response to the atrocity was much more relaxed. Just 4 months later, Washington stood by as the U.S. giant Bechtel Corporation won the contract to build a huge petrochemical plant that would give the Hussein regime the capacity to generate chemical weapons. On September 8, 1988, the U.S. Senate passed the Prevention of Genocide Act, which would have imposed sanctions on the Hussein regime. Immediately, the Reagan administration announced its opposition to the bill, calling it premature. The White House used its influence to stall the bill in the House of Representatives. When Congress did eventually pass the bill, the White House did not implement it. Washington's political, military, and economic sweetheart deals with the Iraqi dictator came even under more stress when in August 1989, FBI agents raided the Atlanta branch of Rome-based Banca Nazionale del Lavoro, BNL, and uncovered massive fraud involving the CCC loan guarantee scheme and billions of dollars worth of unauthorized off-the-books loans to Iraq. BNL Atlanta manager Chris Drugel had used the CC program to underwrite programs that had nothing to do with agricultural exports. Using this cover setup, Hussein's regime tried to buy the most hard-to-get components for its nuclear weapons and missile programs on the black market. Russ Baker, writing in the March-April 1993 Columbia Journalism Review, noted, elements of the U.S. government almost certainly knew that Drugel was funneling U.S.-backed loans into dual-use technology and outright military technology. The British government was fully aware of the operations of Matrix Churchill, a British firm with an Ohio branch, which was not only at the center of the Iraqi procurement network, but was also funded by BNL Atlanta. It would be later alleged by bank executives that the Italian government, long a close U.S. ally as well as BNL's ultimate owner, had knowledge of BNL's loan diversions. Yet even as the public outrage generated by the Halabja massacre and the widening BNL scandal did not cool Washington's ardor toward Hussein's Iraq. On October 2, 1989, U.S. President George Bush Sr. signed the top-secret National Security Decision 26, which declared, normal relations between the U.S. and Iraq would serve our long-term interest and promote stability in both the Gulf and the Middle East. The U.S. should propose economic and political incentives for Iraq to moderate its behavior and increase our influence with Iraq. We should pursue and seek to facilitate opportunities for U.S. firms to participate in the reconstruction of the Iraqi economy. As public and congressional pressure mounted on the U.S. Agriculture Department to end Iraq's access to CCC loan guarantees, Secretary of State James Baker, armed with NSD-26, personally insisted that Agriculture Secretary Clayton Uter drop his opposition to their continuation. In November 1989, Bush Sr. approved $1 billion in loan guarantees for Iraq in 1990. In April 1990, more revelations about the BNL scandal had again pushed the Department of Agriculture to the verge of halting Iraq's CCC loan guarantees. On May 18th, National Security Advisor Scowcroft personally intervened to ensure the delivery of the first $500 million part of the CCC subsidy for 1990. According to France and Wass's February 23, 1992 L.A. Times article, in July 1990, officials at the National Security Council and the State Department were pushing to deliver the second installment of the $1 billion in loan guarantees, despite the looming crisis in the region and evidence that Iraq had used the aid illegally to help finance a secret arms procurement network to obtain technology for its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program. From July 18th to August 1st, 1990, Bush's senior administration approved $4.8 million in advanced technology sales to Iraq. The end users included SOD-16 and the Iraqi Ministry of Industry and Military Industrialization. On August 1st, $695,000 worth of advanced data transmission devices were approved. Only on August 2nd, 1990, did the Agriculture Department officially suspend the CCC loan guarantees to Iraq, the same day that Hussein's tanks and troops swept into Kuwait. That's it. Yeah, nothing. You know what's enough to make me do? Get on the ground and puke. Go to my goddamn window here and just puke right over the goddamn balcony. That's what I would like to do. And you know, you can go on the air, like I have, about the thing with the Taliban, and we give them $43 million a year ago in May. Let's see, May to June, July, August. Less than 4 months. before they attacked us here on our soil. What was it? $43 million.
Right.
And then, of course, in that article we had the other day, come to find out it was to sweeten the pot. Had nothing to do with not growing the poppies. It was to sweeten the pot for the oil pipeline deal. Were we concerned about the oppression of women?
No.
About the length of men's beards?
No.
About the brutality of the Taliban regime?
No.
Of course not. We didn't give a crap about that.
They were cutting the hands and feet off the soccer players.
After they attacked us, then all of a sudden we got all these propaganda shows on TV about the women with the burqas and the oppression of the goddamn people, and they can't listen to music, and bop, 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 bop. You know, sometimes I think that our government is just full of crap, you know. In fact, most of the time. Is that un-American to say it, especially just days before 9/11?
No.
I don't think so. Man with gun arrested at Hartsfield. A man was arrested yesterday as he attempted to pass a security checkpoint with a gun at Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta, authorities be saying. Man was on his way to pick up his mother and said that he forgot he was carrying the gun, according to police. The man was arrested at 8:30 yesterday morning, was charged with carrying a concealed weapon, taken to the Clayton County Jail, said Yolanda Clark, an airport spokeswoman. The airport was not shut down and flights were not affected. Oh, and here's a good one. Germany. You know those poison gas experts?
Yes, of course.
Germany nixes Osama baby name. German authorities have denied a Turkish couple's request to name their newborn son Osama bin Laden, a court spokesman said yesterday. German laws make it illegal for parents to give their children names that might dishonor them or harm their dignity. Oh, gee, if that were the case, can you imagine in this country if we had a law like that?
Oh, please.
Boy, we'd have a whole lot of unnamed black babies. That could be the case with this name. Bridget Niepman, a spokesman for the district court in Cologne, said of the parents wish to name the boy for the alleged mastermind of 9/11 attacks. Boy, do I love Cologne. City registrars rejected the name and the parents of the child who was born in July took their case to the district court. If it's rejected there, they can still appeal. German law allows four names if they're accepted in the family's home country, but this one couldn't be registered in Turkey either, Niepman said. Authorities didn't identify the couple or provide other details. The rumor I'm hearing, though, is that they're considering two other names. Hermann Goering or John Ashcroft. 1027 at 560 WQAM. Hey, here's a great place to take the whole gang this weekend, okay? And that's the Emerald Coast. You can go there and just pig out. Or if you're like a normal eating person, you know, who's not a real pig, if you don't want to just stuff your gullet, you can still do that too because everything is delicious and they've got dozens and dozens of things for you to choose from. 6 different kinds of soups, all kinds of mouth-watering entrees, oriental and otherwise. They've got surf and turf on the weekends with Alaskan king crab and New York strip steak made to order at their gourmet center, which is a sizzling Asian grill, teriyaki steak, shrimp, chicken, seafood, hand-carved prime rib. If you've never been there before, you'll just be amazed when you walk in. Your jaw will drop to your knee because there's so much fresh, delicious, beautiful stuff waiting for you. Emerald Coast Buffet's also got a full salad bar, sushi, fresh shrimp cocktail, and if you have any room left at the end, which will be a miracle, try and save a little bit of room in there just to open up your pants another notch. They got pies and cakes, pastries, ice cream with all your favorite toppings, fresh fruit. They even be having watermelon always on the menu at the Emerald Coast Chinese Buffet. 3 locations for you now. Sunrise, Pine Island and 44th Street. Collins Avenue, you'll find them just north of 163rd in North Miami Beach, and at Flamingo and Pembroke Roads in prestigious Pembroke Pines. Emerald Coast accepts reservations, takeout and delivery available as well. Call 954-572-3822. 954-572-3822. Don't forget on the weekends, like right now, Surf and Turf at Emerald Coast, a great place to take the whole gang this weekend for a gigantic feast.
We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
It's Dave in Miami town at 560 WQAM.
Hussein. Now he's getting his dues for covering everyone's blues, Hussein. Figured he had it made, sure hope he likes the blockade, Hussein. Needs a slap, wipe his crap off the mat, Hussein. Needs a slap, wipe his crap off the mat, Hussein. Insane. Hussein. Insane.
10:33 at 560 WQAM. Isn't it interesting how we helped to build a Shaw Army, too, with illicit funds? But we'll talk to Ollie North about that a little bit later on. Hey, here's another. This isn't nearly as long. It's only a couple of pages. But this is from the News Insider. I'm telling you, that's a great website, man. NewsInsider.com. Isn't that what? Oh, that's not it. It's
.cjb.
Oh, .net.
Right.
At any rate, God exists and God is a corporation, writes John Stanton and Wade Madsen. This article was written July 10th. The evidence is irrefutable. Whether through one of his subsidiaries, Islam, Catholicism, or Christian Evangelical, it's clear that God believes in one world under capitalism and demands of his minions a healthy investment portfolio of stocks and mutual funds and an unquestioning faith in the corporate purveyors of greed and corruption. God is extravagant in taste, paternal in his worldview, and relishes the publicity he gets on U.S. currency and in daily recitals of the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. He's thrilled at the building of palatial houses of worship around the world at the expense of the hundreds of millions of those who are impoverished and struggle to find food, clothing, and shelter. Is there any doubt that God favors the ruthlessly powerful and wealthy, the Bushes and Bin Ladens, the Murdochs and Al Sauds, and the Rumsfelds and Cheneys? God has no problem with income disparity and the brutal competition that is capitalism. In fact, he encourages it. He applauds it. His beloved imbecile, U.S. President George Bush the Tooth, spoke recently for God when he said that all matters political come from God and that God should have a say in appointing judges to America's courts. But there's more. The president owes God because God helped him become a real capitalist by helping him become a millionaire. With so many poor, so many middle-income households struggling to make ends meet, can there be any doubt about where God's priorities are? Is it any surprise that God is hard at work through his corporations lobbying the U.S. Congress for more tax breaks, manipulating world financial markets, changing tax codes everywhere to favor his wealthy minions, and making sure that corporate executives receive immunity from prosecution? At Crown Financial Ministries, God's financial principles are taught to practitioners. According to Crown, God suggests that disciplined financial management comes from investing according to the financial advice in the Bible. No, what is this word? Econometric models here. You know that word?
I do now.
Good. It is the blessing of the Lord that makes rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. Proverbs 10:22. With that advice, Crown provides religious leaders and their flocks with the necessary tools to invest and manage money for easy living and, of course, turning earnings into donations back to God's bureaucracy. God invests through his various subsidiaries, making money on everything including hip replacement gear, video games, soft drinks, genetic engineering, and defense contracting. Over at Christian Stewardship Funds, God's investment managers are pretty picky about evildoers who might get their hands on God's money. Christian scrubs its funds and shuns investments in stocks or bonds of companies involved in abortion, alcohol, gambling, pornography, and tobacco industries. Christian claims that it's the only index mutual fund family with these screens. But wait, the Timothy plan goes one step beyond the Christian financial offering and claims that it's a family of mutual funds offering individuals like yourself a biblical choice when it comes to investing. If you're concerned with the moral issues, abortion, pornography, anti-family entertainment, non-married, same-sex lifestyles, alcohol, tobacco, and gambling that are destroying children and families today, you have come to the right place. Oddly, though, one of Timothy's portfolios includes investments in Biogen, a company that develops drugs through genetic engineering and electronic arts, purveyors of violent video games. Also in the mix is KPMG Consulting, the firm with many U.S. defense contracts and responsible for the flaky audit of Xerox. Businessweek reports that KPMG is under investigation by the SEC here in the U.S. and is getting hammered in Germany. On April 24th, KPMG Germany was forced to disavow the financial reports of former client Comroad, a small software company based near Munich. The embarrassing reason, on April 23rd, a new auditor found that 97% of Comroad's reported sales in 2000 came from a non-existent company. Former Comroad CEO Boda A. Schnabel is in jail awaiting trial on fraud charges. In an attempt at damage control, KPMG has said it will re-audit all 35 clients whose stocks trade on Frankfurt's tech-heavy newer market. Nothing like some good old Christian fraud, but it's the return that counts, no matter whether it's tinkering with the genetic code, obviously God's not concerned about that anymore, or the linkage to malfeasance that many of Timothy's investments have. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, reads the banner at the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Founded in 1975, the bank's purpose is to promote economic development and social progress of member countries and Muslim communities individually, as well as jointly in accordance with the principles of Sharia, in other words, Islamic law. The bank helped get the attention of Wall Street, and subsequently in 1999, the Dow Jones Islamic Market Index was created, which contains roughly 1,862 Sharia-compliant stocks from 34 countries with a market capitalization of U.S. $11 trillion. The FTSE Islamic Market Index contains 660 Sharia-compliant companies and includes notables such as Coca-Cola and Microsoft. Islamic financial advice, like their Christian counterparts at Crown, are laced with quotes from holy works reminding the investor or borrower of the gravity of investing with God or borrowing from God. Be fearful of a day when you shall be returned to Allah, then everybody shall be paid in full what he has earned, and they shall not be wronged. That admonishment appears on an Islamic banking site after a discussion of finance and borrowing. According to the Quran and the Bible, messing around with God's money, not getting a good return, can get one into a lot of trouble and cause problems on Judgment Day. It's kind of like taking out a loan from the mob. Like what's her name discovered on Guiding Light. What the hell's her name?
You're asking me?
Cassie.
Oh.
Of course, no one look at God's finances will be complete without the Catholic Church. The Catholic Values Investment Trust puts God's money into roughly 100 blue chip stocks, but the money can only be invested after the Church Magisterium and the Trust Board of Advisors reviews the stocks to make sure that the companies represented by the stocks adhere to God's teachings. The board has as its members Margaret Heckler, a former congresswoman, ambassador, and U.S. government bureaucrat, and 2 former ambassadors to the Holy See in Rome. Investments include defense contractors General Electric and ITT, Alcoa Aluminum, American Express, Coke, Pepsi, and oil and energy conglomerates. Put up $1,000 and you can get on the high yields of the Catholic Trust. In the immortal words of Pastor Simon of Cheltenham, UK, we see God, far from being averse to money, gives power to get wealth. Power to get wealth is available with God. So what do we need to do? We need to remember God and recognize His plan for wealth in the hands of godly men and women. So get out there and be the best capitalist taskmaster you can. And don't forget, when you put your soul up for auction on eBay, drive a hard bargain with God. After all, He's a capitalist too. Oh, I love it.
Excellent.
Of course, the Catholic Church has a few financial problems these days, but I think somehow they'll scrape through, don't you?
Uh-huh.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
They'll make do, as they say. 20 before 11. What's that schedule look like today, huh? We got the Mad Dog at 1. We got Hank. Look at this, almost an entire show for Hank today. Almost. Well, no, it is. No, it is not. You got Hank from 3 to 5:30 all by himself, and then 5:30 to 6:30, the Dave Wannstedt Show.
Oy!
Because we got for Sirius now the first NFL season, the Dolphin first game on Sunday. And then you got Marlins on deck. Well, can they get that thing over with or what? Oh, we got to wait till the A's lose a game. When Oakland loses a game, then we can get the season over. Marlins on deck 6:30. The Marlins at the Pirates 7:05. They're not a biggie. Eddie K in the Bahamas does his show after baseball, and ESPN Radio overnight. I almost said the Dirty Boys, but not tonight. You want to know why?
I know why.
Because Mo's not on tomorrow. He wants a good lead-in, baby. It's not helping, Mo. 20 before 11 at 560 WQM. Mattress shopping is the dumbest thing you can, well, one of the dumbest things you can do. So don't be stupid, be smart, like me. Maybe I do a lot of other stupid things like eat chocolate yesterday. Why did I do that?
Because you're an addict.
Because I'm an asshole, that's why. Because I'm addicted, and it starts making my nose sniff a little bit. And I thought, oh, no, here we go again. But luckily not. Anyway, do something smart, get you a great new mattress and a super night's sleep for years to come by calling the bedding experts at Dial a Mattress. I can't imagine why any person in his right mind would want to schlep all over town, help some bedding or department store pay for their humongous overhead, get ripped off, and then wind up with an inferior product anyway. Get you one of the best mattress, maybe the best mattress you've ever put your ass on from Dial a Mattress. They got the best in the world. They got Serta, Sealy, Simmons, King Coil, and the one you're looking for is in stock now for immediate delivery. They can have it there in just a couple of hours. Any day, 7 days a week, between like noon and 2, 1 and 3, any 2-hour window that's convenient for you, instead of sitting on your ass praying all day long that somebody might show up. And Dial a Mattress also gives you that unmatchable, unbeatable 30-day in-home comfort guarantee to let you try out the new mattress the right way by sleeping on it and doing all kinds of obscene things on it. Pick up that phone and call them right now. They'll be knocking on your door damn soon. Call 1-800-MATTRESS, 1-800-MATTRES, or check them out on the web if you like at mattress.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Oh, God.
An actor who comes from the UK, charming and pleasant in a quite friendly way, a sense of humor to make someone chuckle. Eyes so blue they cause women's knees to buckle. He was caught by cops in Hollywood. They say that he was up to no good. Fans are now crying it caused a big mob when you got a hooker and got a blowjob. Get a hooker and get a blowjob.
All right.
In the backseat she went down on his knob. Cops broke it up, they saw her head bob when you got a hooker and got a blowjob. English don't have sex, they drink too much tea. Unless you're part of the royal family. But Hugh Grant's not like that, he's no regal snob. So he got a hooker, he got a blowjob. Get a hooker and get a blowjob. In the backseat she went down on his knob. Cops broke it up, they saw her head bob when you got a hooker and got a blowjob. He got a blowjob.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a blowjob.
Are you a hooker? Jesus, I forgot. Oh, I just thought I was doing great with you.
You know why I played that, don't you?
I was going to ask you, where are all the bleeps that were supposed to be in that?
We haven't played that with bleeps in a long time.
I know.
You mean blowjob?
And
no, thanks
knob.
to Bubba. Thanks to Bubba, we can do. What else?
We had to bleep
Oh, that's
knob.
right. What was the word that he was upset about?
Knob.
Knob. Went down on his knob, yeah. Well, Steve Nickel had a knob problem, is what I'm hearing. That's what Suzanne told me. He had a bad knob problem. But anyway, he took a powder and went up to Jacksonville. The reason I played that is because the disc was in there already with that Hussein bit, and I figured, why the hell not? There's a lot of stuff on here I haven't played in the Coons age. And see, the way the cops could tell is whether he was being orally raped or not was the... See, the difference is, the distinction is if his hands weren't on the back of her head assisting the up and down motion.
I see.
See what I'm saying? In other words, if his hands are on the back of her head, then he's guilty too. He's also an offending party. But if his hands are not on the back of her head, then he's being orally raped.
What if he's holding her by the ears?
Oh, that's even worse. Don't forget, speaking of big ears, join... Nose.
Right.
Join Joe Costello tomorrow. Anyway, the bulletin, the breaking news on CNN just moments ago. Good old Hamid Karzai. Yes, they were trying to remember his first name. Well, Mohammed is pretty close to Hamid, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Anyway, he ordered a review of recruiting security. I can't imagine why. But anyway, Afghanistan's President Karzai escaped an assassination attempt yesterday by a lone gunman wearing the uniform of the new Afghan army. Witnesses reported hearing dozens of shots, and on exchange they left the gunman and one of the president's bodyguards dead, and Kandahar Governor Agha Shirzai, a U.S. Special Forces soldier, lightly wounded. A news photograph of the scene showed 3 bodies on the ground after the clash. Speaking to reporters about the failed assassination attempt, Afghan Foreign Minister Dr. Abdullah, he's one of our favorites, remember him?
Yes.
Said that Karzai was leaving the governor's house when a uniformed armed person appeared in front of their car and opened fire. Karzai, who was in town to attend the wedding of his younger brother, was whisked to safety after the shooting, and today is ordering a review of recruiting security. He says no doubt that it was Taliban, Al-Qaeda, or both of the above was doing the shooting. I thought we did a good job of cleaning them all out, didn't we?
Yeah, it's all over with, isn't it?
No. Oh, poor Martha, speaking of it's all over with. Just when we think that maybe she's getting one toe out of the woods and out of the kitchen. Another story.
Oh, no.
Panel finds call from Stewart to Waxel. In fact, the New York Daily News today has got splashed on the front page with a astonished picture of her puss. You ought to see her puss. In fact, if you want to see something similar, just look on the wall behind you there.
Yeah, we were just admiring that.
This story, though, is not from the Daily News, which was, just psychotic. This is from the Washington Post. Congressional investigators said yesterday they have evidence of a 5-minute phone call from Martha Stewart to Imclone Systems, Inc. Executive Director Samuel Waxel on December 31st during a period when Waxel has maintained the two didn't speak. A spokesman for the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Ken Johnson, said the panel would decide by Tuesday whether to subpoena Stewart, who has refused to talk to Congress about allegations of insider trading, or conclude its investigation by forwarding a report to the Justice Department. The evidence of a December 31st phone call appears to shed little light on whether Stewart had inside information from her friend Waxel or from others when she sold her shares in Waxel's company December 27. That was one day before bad news about Imclone became public and its share price plunged. Johnson said the phone call made from a rented cell telephone while Stewart was vacationing in Mexico was troubling. According to Johnson, Waxel said he didn't speak to Stewart any time between a party she threw December 14 and a January 5th party in Panama. She's a party girl, baby. Records show that Stewart tried to reach Waxel on December 27 just before selling her shares in his company. Her lawyers have denied that he returned that call. They never revealed that she might have succeeded in reaching him December 31st, Johnson said. Investigators working for Representative W.J. Billy Towson and James C. Greenwood learned of the 5-minute phone call by examining records from a company in Mexico that rented a phone to Stewart's entourage, Johnson be saying. While the call sheds little light on potential insider trading because of its timing, it points to a larger pattern by Stewart of not being forthright with Congress, Johnson said. If it was an innocent phone call, why not just tell, and not only that, but if she got nothing to hide, why doesn't she want to go and testify in front of Congress?
Shut up.
Bitch. God, do I hate her. In fact, that'd be a good one. Do you hate her worse than Oprah? Oh, I do.
Ooh, tough one.
I take it back. Oprah, Rosie, or Martha Stewart? Don't let me forget
Tough
that poll
call.
next week. Huh?
That's a tough call.
Next week we'll do a poll. Efforts to reach a spokesman and a lawyer for Stewart were unsuccessful last night. Stewart has denied trading on inside information. Scott Tagliarino, a spokesman for Waxel, said, "We don't have any comment." Waxel resigned as well, we know all that stuff. So it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and more lies, etc., and so on. Oh, and speaking of that, what a great segue. Ex-State official Alonzo accused of misusing funds out on bail. Well, that's good. Former Dade Commissioner Miriam Alonzo bonded out of jail yesterday, day after her arrest on new felony charges, accusing her of misusing political donations intended to help her fight a recall campaign. Don't you feel better now?
Much.
Alonzo, 61, was held overnight at the Women's Detention Center in Miami. She was released yesterday after her attorney, Jose Quinlan, convinced a Dade Circuit judge to reduce her bond from $250,000 to $75,000. Yesterday morning, the once powerful commissioner appeared in court with other criminal defendants. She was handcuffed and wore a red jail issues jumpsuit. I bet she looked lovely.
Actually, it was orange.
It says here red.
Well, I saw it look pretty orange to me.
Well, this is in the goddamn Herald by Luisa Yanez. Y-A-N-E-S. Am I saying that right? Yanez?
I don't know.
By some bitch. Alonzo's husband, Leonel, 70, was also arrested and charged, also bonded out yesterday. Thank goodness for that. He was briefly hospitalized at Baptist Health, South Florida, Wednesday morning after complaining of chest pains as the couple surrendered to police. Boy, that chest pain deal, that's as old as the hills, you know?
I know.
Every mobster always used to use that deal. So she had a orange jail issue jumpsuit?
Yeah.
The ones I've seen are always... So the Herald makes another mistake. But that's not nearly as embarrassing as the Sun Sentinel deleting Tom's cooking schedules from their website, from his column. I still can't get over that. Can you?
That was great. That was very funny.
And you know what they would say? Oh, that was on there by mistake. It's just a coincidence. We just discovered that.
Sure, we were going to update that anyway.
Right. Just like they're going to update Waxy 710 in that other column. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And that was the oldies thing. Doo-wop. In 1999, residents of Miriam Alonzo's Commission District launched a campaign to recall her from office. The residents were angry that she supported expansion of a landfill in Miami Lakes. Alonzo raised about $90,000 to fight the recall, some of it after she knew the recall campaign had fizzled, police said, but none of the money was reported to election authorities. The charges accused her of misusing $78,000 of the money, then fabricating invoices after she learned police were investigating. The couple's attorney said they deny any wrongdoing. These are the second group of charges brought against the Alonzos. In April, they were charged with a number of corruption-related offenses, including grand theft, money laundering, and exploitation of public office. In that case, they were accused of misusing $54,000 from her re-election campaign. Small potatoes, you know, when you come right down to it. Small potatoes. I say leave them alone. Suspect in Swedish hijack plot listed in Pembroke Pines address. Is there any crap that doesn't come to South Florida?
No.
God, no wonder I got the hell out of there. You can smell it. I mean, Amsterdam, you see it on the streets, but in South Florida, you smell it. Like in that elevator I got off. You know, even Clarence knew that story. Hey, I apologize again, okay?
I think it's still in there.
I apologize. It could be. It could be lingering. Suspect, well, I read that. An Islamic fundamentalist with a criminal past accused of planning to hijack a flight between Stockholm and London has connections to South Florida like many others implicated in terror plots over the past year. Now, you saw this chatty guy?
Yeah.
Who spends a lot of time in the chatty rooms on the Internet? Kareem Sadak Chatty, 29, is being held in a Stockholm jail, charged with attempting to hijack a London-bound Ryanair flight on August 29th. Chatty was found with a handgun in his carry-on luggage before boarding the Boeing 737 at the Västerås airport outside Stockholm. It was reportedly on his way to an Islamic conference in London. Chatty, who attended a flight school in South Carolina in 1997 and was certified as a private pilot by the FAA in May of 97, came to Florida in 1998 with the intention of taking flying lessons, according to accounts from his family in the Swedish and British media. Remember what Howard Beale, Ned Beatty said to Howard Beale?
No.
The world is a business, Mr.
Oh, that,
Beal.
yes.
I mean, that has nothing to do with this story, but I forgot to mention that before, with that story about God's corporations. Florida State records show that Chatty listed an address at Pembroke Landings apartment complex, 1375 Southwest 101st Way, Building 6, Apartment 306, when he sold his car in June 1998, according to records obtained from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. A company official at the landing said she couldn't verify that Chatty lived there at the time because the rental records don't go back that far. Chatty's motor vehicle documents represent the only known pubic record of his stay in Florida. Joseph Phillips of Stewart, who bought his Nissan 300ZX for $1,000 in June 1998, said Wednesday he couldn't discuss the purchase because he had signed an agreement with a British paper selling exclusive rights to do an interview for $3,000. The deal is an indication of the sensation the case has caused in the British press as a possible precursor attack to the September 11th anniversary. Michael Fabregas, FBI spokesman in Miami, said agents are looking into Chatty's link to Pembroke Pines. Officials at the North American Institute of Aviation in Conway, South Carolina, said Chatty enrolled at the flight school in 1996, but was terminated April 30th, 97, after 7 months because he didn't meet the pilot's license requirements, usually attained by students after 45 days. The Swedish tabloid Aftonbladet reported that Chatty was in Florida with the intention of taking flight courses, but was frustrated by a neck injury. Chatty didn't show up at a dozen local flight schools contacted by the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, which was too busy, of course, deleting those cooking school references from Tom Jicka's website. 10:56 at 560 WQM. Castaway Seafood Company knows seafood, boy. They pride themselves on serving you the freshest seafood available, fresh fish that is never frozen. Didn't they bring you some food?
Yes, twice, as a matter of fact.
And you told me it was outstanding.
Spectacular. Best ever.
Castaways also features grilled certified Angus beef. That's Angus with a G. Burgers, filet mignon, or huge New York strips. Castaways has great weekend specials, too, like their seafood pasta medley with sautéed shrimp, fish, and calamari, served over linguine for only $13.95, or snapper Veracruz for only $14.95. Join the Castaways tailgate party at the Hogfish Bar, offering college and NFL football specials, including all-you-can-eat hot and spicy buffalo shrimp for just $7.95 while you watch your favorite teams. There's also live entertainment every Saturday night. Castaway Seafood Company has got a full bar. They're open 7 days a week, and you'll find them on the southwest corner of University Drive and Griffin Road in prestigious Davie. If you're looking to cater your next home or office party, Castaways will do a super job of that for you, too. George says it's beyond belief it's so good. The Castaway Seafood Company, seafood so fresh it'll slap you in the puss.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
I've just tasted your snapper.
If your toothpaste doesn't taste great, your kids don't brush long enough, which could lead to ugly tartar buildup. The solution? Regular checkups and brushing with New Crust, the tartar-controlled toothpaste laced with crack cocaine.
Hey, son, almost got in there?
Brushing, get up, brushing!
Crust is not only clinically proven, it's also highly addictive. So your kids will brush and brush and brush. And brush and brush and brush.
Come on, Billy, it's been 45 minutes.
Brushing, 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 brushing.
If you're not careful, you're going to wear those teeth down to little nubbins.
Oh, God, no!
What's wrong, son?
Almost out of crust.
Hook your kids on a healthy habit for life. Brushing with New Crust with crack cocaine.
Sure, I'm going to be late for work now, but it's good to see Billy brushing.
Get out, old man. This is a carjacking.
Billy, what are you doing?
I said out.
Billy, what are you doing?
Gotta sell the car to get more crust.
New Crust toothpaste laced with crack cocaine. Recommended by 9 out of 10 drug addicts.
11:01 at 560 WQM. Too bad we don't have a best of coming out this year, you know?
Is it?
Because I'm looking at, well, no, this 1995, this may have been the best one. Well, it certainly was one of the best, you know. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So it's damn good that I got that disc in there. No, it really is, because I have all of these up here, and I usually have them sitting way back there off to the side, back on a thing. It's on my thing. And I didn't usually think to go to those.
Yeah.
But I did, because that Hussein bit isn't in the DCS, and there was on there, and with all kinds of other good stuff. Anyway, we got 199 votes. The next one will be the 200th. 199. What do you think is going to happen on Wednesday, September 11th? It's only a matter of days away.
Oi!
Nothing unusual, 123. I have no idea, 65. Another terrorist attack, 11. I voted I have no idea.
Likewise.
You have, what did you vote?
No idea.
I have no idea. LSU, speaking of idea, remember that person of interest we've been talking about, Stephen Hatfield?
Yes.
LSU, not only did they fire him the other day, now they fired his boss. A day after it fired Dr. Stephen J. Hatfield, a researcher under scrutiny in last fall's anthrax attacks, LSU fired the head of the Biomedical Research Center that had employed him. Stephen L. Now, I want to pronounce his last name right, but I'm not good on frog names. Guillot. Guillot?
Sure, why not?
Or Guillot? Guillot.
Blah, 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 blah.
Stephen L. Frog, who is director of both the National Center for Biomedical Research and Training and the Academy for Counterterrorist Education, was dismissed yesterday. LSU spokesman Wednesday he was fired. LSU spokesman Gene Sands announced yesterday. Sands refused to discuss why Guillot was fired, saying it was a personnel matter. He said the dismissal will be effective October 4th. They've always got that cover-up. Oh, we can't tell you it's a personnel thing,
right,
and we can't talk about those.
Who the hell
Guillot was at home and couldn't immediately be reached for comment, said AP. LSU's Vice Provost for Academic Affairs, Greg Vincent, is looking at the management practices of the entire division that oversees the Biomedical Research Center, including its process for reviewing resumes of potential employees, Sands said. Several questions have surfaced about Hatfield, including what appear to be exaggerations on his resume. In discussing Hatfield's firing, Sands had said Wednesday that Guillot received an email August 1 directing him to cease and desist from using Hatfield on Justice Department-funded projects. Hatfield was placed on administrative leave by LSU the following day, but Sands said Guillot didn't alert administration officials to the email till Tuesday when Hatfield was fired. Sands said the decision to put Hatfield on administrative leave and fire him wasn't connected to the email. LSU Chancellor Mark Emmert said Hatfield's firing wasn't a judgment of guilt but was in the best interest of LSNU. Justice Department officials, of course, declined comment on the email. Pat Clausen, Hatfield's spokesman, said the email was an attempt to pressure Hatfield into a false confession. We are stunned to learn of this, he said on Wednesday. We're outraged. Blacklisting by the government is offensive and un-American. Obviously, Attorney General John Ashcroft wants to bring blacklisting back to the federal scene. Where is the due process? Hatfield blamed the FBI's anthrax investigation for his termination. How do you like that?
I don't.
Wait till you like this, though. Bush's niece models in fashion show.
All right.
Barcelona, Spain.
See?
President Bush's niece. Now, wasn't Columba in Barcelona when she came back that time when she just forgot to report that stuff she bought?
I don't know.
I think it was. Somewhere in Spain. Barcelona. President Bush's niece, Lauren Bush, made her first appearance on a Spanish catwalk yesterday, when she modeled a simple black dress for the presentation of the label Toypes Summer 2003 collection. T-O-Y-P-E-S, Toypes?
Sure, why not?
Would you ever have a toy Pez? They're like a small Pez container.
I have several.
Little dispenser. The show was full of silk linen, elaborate embroidery, and Arabic-inspired touches like turbans and traditional robes. But a Toy Pez spokesman said stylists deliberately gave Lauren Bush a simple, non-ethnic dress to avoid any political undertones.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, can you imagine if she would have come out there with a Husad Chaco?
Oi!
President Bush is currently considering whether to launch an attack on Iraq, as we know, yada, 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 a prospect that's angered many in the Arab world. Any connection with the Bush family and Arabic styles were purely coincidence, said the label's designer, Spain's Jorge Galanes. Galananes. G-A-L-I, Galananes. Lauren Bush, the daughter of President Bush's brother Neil. You know that's Neil Bush of the saving and loan scandal?
Yeah, I know.
Silverado? Was chosen to model because she's an international personality who's never modeled in España, Galananes said. This is fashion, not politics. You can't politicize fashion, he said. Tell that to what's-his-name from the, from New York, that punk, what's his name? The Guardian Angels with the red hat that's got on the talk show now,
Curtis
that idiot.
Lewa.
Oh, God, do I of all the people, you know something, compared to him, I like Martha Stewart.
Oh, my God.
In fact, compared to him, I love Oprah. He is the most obnoxious. Didn't they call themselves the Guardian Angels?
Yes, indeed.
And that's where he started. You know,
Right.
these are a bunch of little self-appointed vigilantes. And then he became a right-wing talk show host. And now they got him on there on MSNBC wearing that red schmata. Bush made her appearance at the end of the fashion show, walking onto the runway hand-in-hand with the designer. She was originally slated to participate more in the show, but the 17-year-old, who is the face of Tommy Hilfiger and has appeared in numerous international fashion shows, felt sick on Thursday, the Toy Press spokeswoman. Probably felt sick when she saw all those Arab headgear. You know, she started swooning a little bit.
Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Probably her cousin had to get her some doggy downers. Oh, and speaking of the Bush family, Florida Governor Bush orders one of the first U.S. female serial killers executed next month, conveniently right before the election. Governor Jeb Bush signed a death warrant yesterday for Eileen Wuornos, a prostitute who killed 6 men along Florida highways and was one of the nation's first known female serial killers. Her execution was set for October 9th. Isn't that good?
That's excellent. It's about freaking time.
The governor also ordered the October 2nd execution of death row inmate Rigoberto Sanchez Velasco, who was condemned for the 1986 murder of a Hialeah girl. With Bush seeking re-election in November, some death penalty critics accused the governor of making capital punishment a political issue. Abe Bonowitz, director of Floridians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, called the death warrants a transparent and crass political move at a time when Mr. Bush knows the courts will issue stays in both cases. He referred to legal challenges to Florida's death penalty that are pending before the state's Supreme Court. But stays for Wuornos or Sanchez appear unlikely, neither as attorneys since both dropped their appeals. Bush spokeswoman Katie Munoz said both confessed more than 10 years ago and have volunteered for execution. Wuornos, 46, was convicted of fatally shooting 6 middle-aged men who picked her up as a hitchhiker in 1989 and 90. Her story has been portrayed in 2 movies, 3 books, and an opera.
Oh!
And on Oprah.
Oh! Now, if Oprah wore a red beret, would you hate her more than
Curtis Lee. Well, man, no wonder I couldn't remember his name. He gives me the heebie-jeebies, man. And there's nothing worse on Erev Rosh Hashanah than getting the heebie-jeebies. Which, of course, George has that all the time. Broward, speaking of heebie, well, I don't have time for this now. I guess I do. It's kind of a long thing. I'll make time, okay?
Okay.
Broward, this is in the Sun Sentinel. In fact, right above it says, you looking for those cooking shows? Broward official fears chaotic elections office will torpedo primary vote. Even as election officials sought to reassure voters that next week's primary will go smoothly despite turmoil over new polling places and inaccurate registration cards, the leader of the Broward County Commission charged the area is careening toward another election disaster. How do you like that? Even after all the embarrassment and publicity? Another... Oh, man. How do we do it? Commission Chairwoman Lori Paris, who serves on the 3-member canvassing board that certifies the election results, said yesterday that the process had been too rife with problems to run properly on this coming Tuesday. I mean, the election's only like Saturday, a Sunday, 4 days away.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, right. Saturday. Apollonia, no. Too late. Car blew up. Fabrizio.
Oh, sorry, that was a slip.
Yeah, Fabrizio.
Adonde va?
Hold ass. Yeah, that's what he did say, Adonde va. Very good. See, the only reason you know that is because it's the same in both languages.
Close.
What would it be in Spanish?
Adonde vas?
Oh. She lost her last bit of faith when she learned that the mayor of Sunrise received the wrong ballot when he voted, and that oh, no. Not again. Like Fredo was saying. Remember he was sitting on the curb with his head in his hands rocking back. Again. Same thing here. Remember that?
Yes, of course.
After we hit him with 5 shots.
He dropped the gun, fumbling oaf.
Yeah, he takes the gun and he diddles it around on it like he was twirling it like a baton, you know. And he dropped it.
The handle, Fredo. Grab it by the handle.
Well, Fredo, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get back to that, sir, because it's long. Like I said, it's pretty damn long. Oh, I can't handle it. Between that story on how we supplied Iraq, well, and we all knew that, but it's just when you put it into words like that. And of course, one thing about these stories, well documented. You notice?
Oh yeah.
Well documented, all referenced, dates, times, places, names, shoe size, penis length. They got it all down to a science. But we're not just talking about hysterical wingnuts on either end. Can't handle that. Can't handle people that don't bring me copy either. I'm going to tell you, I think next week I'm going to launch a verbal assault on Todd Dreck, the likes of which he's never heard in his life. This little putzela, man, this guy is just pathetic, tragic. He is the worst excuse for a sales hole, and you know what it goes all the way back to? Let me give you a clue. Hey, Culligan, man. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
How could we forget? Man,
watch your
just
lip.
Makes me want to puke. Anyway, let me tell you right now about a great place. You won't puke when you go there. You'll get yourself some great skills, and that's Fast Train. You can become a high-paid computer professional if you get the training. And, of course, there are tons of great jobs out there waiting for you with some real money behind them. The question is, how do you do that? How do you get a good school that'll help you accomplish all of these things? Well, there's one school that's got 4 convenient locations all over Dade and Broward, including that great new spot in highly congested Kendall. There's one school that's got certified Microsoft instructors, convenient day, evening, and weekend classes. There's a school that's got full-time placement department with over 30 years' experience. And when you go to Fast Train, you can complete your program, get certified with this great new computer job in just 4 short months. We're talking hands-on training. You're going to really know your crap. Speaking of Todd Dreck, you'll know your crap. You've heard me talk about Fast Train for a long time, so get off your lazy ass, pick up the phone right now, and make a new career for yourself and start getting a serious paycheck. Call 1-866-FAST-TRAIN. That's 1-866-FAST-TRAIN. Whoever answers, be sure and mention Todd Dreck's name. That'll get you some real brownie points. Or check them out on the web if you like at fasttrain.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Only in the Banana Republic, baby. Only in Miami.
And now here's Timmy Dean, founder of Timmy Dean Pork Sausage, with a few words about new Timmy Dean bagel sandwiches.
Hello, I'm Timmy Dean. You know, if someone had told me 25 years ago that I'd be making bagels, I'd have said, huh? That's Jew food, isn't it? But times have changed, and I guess I've got to change with them. But I don't have to like it. You people want your bagels, I'll give you your bagels, with a big old greasy slab of Timmy Dean pork sausage on it. New Timmy Dean non-kosher bagel sandwiches. If you're Jewish, you can buy them. You just can't eat them.
New Timmy Dean bagel sandwiches.
Oy!
There's a little bit of bigot in every bite.
And Happy New Year from Timmy Dean. 11:14. Did you notice we had the rejoin on that break, the one where it goes from Q like that?
Yes.
Oh, I hate that thing. What's that doing in there? You better hop all over Clarence's ass about that, okay?
Oh, yeah, right.
Because he's doing a fine job, and he's a good guy. He really is. Like Clarence a lot. Especially if he starts getting some cash for poor Chuck Carlos, whatever his name is there.
Yeah.
See, all the other shows, they get like 75 different interns paid, sports nerds. Our show, we got to go through a big song and a dance just to get Chuck a couple of bucks. We'll take care of him. Don't worry about that.
And you thought I was joking on Friday with the volunteer board op.
No, I didn't think you were joking. Haven't I been there a little while? Don't I know what a cheap bastard Greg is? And, of course, it's always with this show. He has that niggardly attitude about this show. This is the show with the big numbers and bringing in the big revenue and drives the entire goddamn radio station, but we get squat is what we get. And he probably expects me to pay him, you know. Why the hell not? I've made my own, you know, over in Amsterdam,
right.
Bought my own chair, bought my own supplies. Over here the other day I got 2 toner cars. And I could expense him. But you know something? Just out of spite I don't do it. Because there's so many things we've had to buy for ourselves. Just like I was telling you before the show today. I'm going to want to get back.
Right.
I'm going to make sure we get an air purifier. And, in fact, I'll get 2 of them. We'll get one for your studio and one for mine. So we're going to have to sit in there choking and gagging every day. Negative ion, by the way, I think is the way to go. Maybe somebody out there will fax us some information about that.
Okay.
Because I hear that those HEPA filters don't HEPA too much. Isn't that what you hear?
I heard the same thing.
Well, there's some people that swear by those, but I've been reading a lot on the net the last couple of days, and the negative ionizers, those are supposedly the cat's meow. They take even the tiniest little particles, just finite, things that can't be seen even with like the Mount Palomar telescope, and they take them out of the air. Somebody will fax us some propaganda on that. In fact, maybe somebody will fax us where we can get some down there, for my house. Anyway, Lori Parrish, poor Lori Parrish, the Broward County Commissioner, says, I have no confidence we can have an error-free election. We have a new supervisor of elections, new voting equipment, and new precinct locations. I just have to hope that it isn't a formula for disaster. I'm worried and concerned, she said. Doesn't sound too promising, does it?
No.
Broward's embattled supervisor of elections, Miriam Oliphant, faced another major blow in her election planning yesterday, when the State Division of Elections said she misinterpreted state law on how to organize her polling precincts. Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
The Republican Party complained she wouldn't guarantee that each precinct will be staffed by Republican and Democratic poll workers. She thought only that the overall makeup of the 5,000 workers had to reflect the community, but the state sided with the GOP. The opinion could open the primary to a legal challenge unless Oliphant shuffles poll workers around between today and Tuesday to ensure a balance at each of the 809 precincts. Her spokesman said Oliphant was reviewing the letter late yesterday and going, you got to be schmitting me, she's probably saying. Republican leaders said they're exploring their options if Oliphant does not relent and said they'll definitely head the court if the issue is not addressed by the November general election. You know what they're going to be doing? They're going to have to bring their henchmen in from out of state. They're going to be knocking, let us in, let us in. They're going to be knocking on her door. Remember that?
All right, yes.
Let us in. Oh. Despite that, Florida's top election official, Secretary of State Jim Smith, stood side by side with Oliphant yesterday and said he's convinced that Broward is ready for Tuesday's vote. Right. Just like Cheesehead Tommy Thompson said. He drank water from a creek. He was an outdoor guy. It's an isolated incident. He drank water from a creek.
Ever take a crap in the woods?
Everybody heard it, too, and smelled it. During a visit to Broward's poll worker, in fact, Uncle Remus and Beer and I were out there last week. He said the problems arising here are not out of the ordinary, is what he'd be saying. Everybody just needs to take a couple of deep breaths, he said. I think similar problems have occurred in other places, but for whatever reason here it's been more confrontational. People don't realize how complicated it is to put on an election. Tuesday will mark the first major election since South Florida came under national scrutiny for its embarrassing role in the 2000 presidential election debacle, it says here, inaccurately so. Although the state's reformed its election laws and Broward has replaced punch card ballots with touchscreen voting machines, problems have plagued preparations for the 2002 primary. Voters have complained about new polling places and inaccurate registration cards, and the concerns are continuing to mount. Sunrise Mayor Steve Farron was stunned when he voted absentee last week and received a ballot that contained a legislative race for State Senator Mandy Dawson. Farron, who lives about 6 miles outside her district, immediately questioned poll workers about the ballot. Farron said a poll worker agreed he'd been given the wrong ballot and then set up the right one on his voting machine, but Farron said he's concerned other voters are less astute about which legislative, congressional, school board, and county and city commission districts they live in and will go ahead and vote if they got the wrong ballot. He said, it's going to be ugly, is what he said. How do you like that?
I like it.
Similar problems were seen this week in the testing of the new voting machinery by the canvassing board. The board determined the machines worked properly, but 2 of the 5 errors occurred while testing 100 machines happened because poll workers chose the wrong ballot. Parrish attempted to raise questions about the possibility of similar mistakes, but lawyers told the board that it could only assess whether the machines worked properly. Poll worker training, they said, was Oliphant's responsibility. Oliphant denied that Farron could have received the wrong ballot. She said the errors in this week's testing were tracked and corrected quickly. So in other words, she's calling him a liar, I guess. How do you like that? So on it goes, as we just can't. Can we get it together?
No.
Are we ever going to get together in South Florida?
No.
But the guy from Sweden, by the way, that getting jiggy with the guy, what was that guy's name?
I forgot.
Whatever his name was.
I couldn't pronounce it.
Chatty, that chatty guy.
Chatty.
Yeah. See, he wasn't like Mum like the other guys. He was pretty chatty. The chatty guy, he lived in Pembroke Pines once upon a time. Maybe we used to go bowling with Mohammed Atta. Or to some of the strip clubs. In fact, maybe he was at the swing club when you were in there. You never know.
Never know.
In fact, maybe he was the guy that swung it in Joe's face.
That's right. He was wearing a towel on his head.
I mean, Joe's got that big nose. Maybe he didn't realize it was an Italian nose. Maybe he thought Joe was Jewish.
Oi!
Speaking of Jews, Nat Hentoff writes in the Village Voice, how come I haven't been getting stuff out of the Village Voice? I asked you before, and
I don't know.
It never dawned on me. They have some pretty... and I'm going to read this article. I will say this. It starts right out with Jonathan Turley. Now, do you remember him from Penisgate?
No.
He was on the... Yes, you do. He was on the Talking Head shows over and over again. He's a professor of law at Georgetown.
That guy. Okay.
Got a fat face and dark hair, and he was ripping Bubba an ass. He was consistently an anti-Bubba. Which, he's entitled to that, but he just made me sick. Nat Hentoff writes in the Village Voice, General Ashcroft's detention camps. Jonathan Turley is a professor of constitutional and public interest law at George Washington University Law School in D.C. He's also a defense attorney in national security cases and other matters, writes for a number of publications, and is often on TV, too often. He and I occasionally exchange leads on civil liberties stories, but I learn much more from him than he does from me, says Nat Hentoff. For example, a Jonathan Turley column in the national edition of the August 14th L.A. Times, Camps for Citizens, Ashcroft's Hellish Vision begins. Attorney General John Ashcroft's announced desire for camps from U.S. citizens he deems to be enemy combatants has moved him from merely being a political embarrassment to being a constitutional menace. Actually, ever since General Ashcroft pushed the U.S. Patriot Act through an overwhelmingly supine Congress soon after 9/11, he subverted more elements of the Bill of Rights than any Attorney General in American history. Under the Justice Department's new definition of enemy combatant, which won the enthusiastic approval of the President and Defense Secretary Rumsfeld, anyone defined as an enemy combatant, very much including American citizens, can be held indefinitely by the government without charges, a hearing, or a lawyer, in short, incommunicado. 2 American citizens, Yasser Essam Hamdi and Jose Padilla, are currently locked up in the military brigs as enemy combatants. Hamdi is in solitary in a windowless room. As Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe said on ABC's Nightlaw on August 12th, it bothers me that the executive branch is taking the amazing position that just on the president's say-so, any American citizen can be picked up, not just in Afghanistan, but at O'Hare Airport or on the streets of any city in this country and locked up without access to a lawyer or court just because the government says he's connected somehow with the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. That's not the American way. It's not the constitutional way. And no court can even figure out whether we've got the wrong guy. How do you like that?
I don't like it.
In other words, what he was basically saying, it's not.
That's the American fucking way.
Not, is what he was saying. In Hamdi's case, the government claims it can hold him for interrogation in a floating Navy brig off Norfolk, Virginia, as long as it needs to. When Federal District Judge Robert Dumar asked a man from the Justice Department how long Hamdi is going to be locked up without charges, the government lawyer said he couldn't answer that question. The Bush administration claims the judiciary has got no right to interfere. Remember what Mama Corleone said?
No.
Santino, don't interfere. Now more Americans are also going to be dispossessed of every fundamental legal right in our system of justice and put into camps. Jonathan Turley reports that Justice Department aides to General Ashcroft have indicated that a high-level committee will recommend which citizens are to be stripped of their constitutional rights and sent to Ashcroft's new camps. Oh! I understand he's trying to get Hugh Downs to bring back concentration. It should be noted that Turley, who tries hard to respect, maybe Art James, who tries hard to respect due process, even in unpalatable situations, publicly defended Ashcroft during the latter's turbulent nomination battle, which is more than I did, said Nat Hentoff. Again, in his L.A. Times column, Turley tries to be fair. Of course, Ashcroft is not considering camps on the order of the internment camps used to incarcerate Japanese-American citizens WW2, but he can only be credited with thinking smaller. We have learned from painful experience that unchecked authority, once tasted, easily becomes insatiable, Turley says. Turley insists that the proposed camp plan should trigger immediate congressional hearings and reconsideration of Ashcroft's fitness for important office. Whereas Al-Qaeda is a threat to the lives of our citizens, Ashcroft has become a clear and present danger to our liberties. On August the 8th, the Wall Street Journal, which much admires Ashcroft on its editorial pages, reported that the Goose Creek, South Carolina facility that houses Jose Padilla, mostly empty since it was designated in January to hold foreigners captured in the U.S. and facing military tribunals, now has a special wing that could be used to jail about 20 U.S. citizens if the government were to deem them enemy combatants, a senior administration official be saying. The Justice Department has told Turley that it's not denied this story, and space can be found in military installations for more enemy combatants. But once the camps are operating, can General Ashcroft be restrained from detaining, not in these special camps, but in regular lockups, any American investigated under suspicions of domestic terrorism under the new elastic FBI guidelines for criminal investigations? From page, well, before we get to that, like maybe, can you just imagine Steve Hatfield?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I can just see that.
I mean, after all, he did something.
Well, he's not, maybe didn't do anything, but he is a person of interest.
Oh, wow.
And I think some people of interest are going to, disappear for a while. From page 3 of these Ashcroft Terrorism FBI guidelines, quoting, the nature of the conduct engaged in by a terrorist enterprise will justify an inference that the standard for opening a criminal justice investigation is satisfied even if there are no known statements by participants that advocate or indicate planning for violence or other prohibited acts. That conduct can be simply intimidating the government according to the USA Patriot Act. The new Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise movie Minority Report shows the government some years hence imprisoning pre-criminals before they engage in or even think of terrorism. That may not just be fiction, folks. Now, remember the other day we had that story about Delaware, where they arrest people because they're thinking about committing a crime?
Right, not profiling, pre-filing.
Right. Pre-filing. In other words, they got the mind police. They're reading their mind. They're going to do something evil and break the law, and so they round them up. Returning to General Ashcroft's plans for American enemy combatants, on August 8th, New York Times editorial, written before those plans were revealed, said, the Bush administration seems to believe, on no good legal authority, that if it calls citizen combatants in the war on terrorism, it can imprison them indefinitely and deprive them of lawyers. This defiance of the courts repudiates 2 centuries of constitutional law and undermines the very freedoms that President Bush says he's defending in the struggle against terrorism. Meanwhile, as the camps are being prepared, the braying Terry McAuliffe and the pack of Democratic presidential aspirants are campaigning on corporate crime with no reference to the constitutional crimes being committed by Bush and Ashcroft. As Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis prophesied, the greatest menace to freedom is an inert people and an inert Democratic leadership. See you in a month if I'm not an Ashcroft camper, says Nat Hentoff. How do you like that, huh? By the way, Nat, Happy New Year if you're still on the outside. God. Did I say God?
No, God.
26 after 11 at 560 WQM. We got the Mad Dog, Jim Mandich coming along at 1, the Hank Goldberg Show, then Dave Wannstedt at 5:30 with Hank, and then the Marlin stuff. Tom Lehman and Hal at Pontiac GMC are doing it again. They're always doing it down there. 0% financing is still going on. That is correct. You heard me right. Get 0% financing up to 60 months with approved credit from GMAC, or it's your choice. Take a rebate of up to $4,000. You heard right, up to $4,000 on select 2002 Pontiacs or GMC models in stock. They've been doing it right down there for 35 years in the same great location at Hallett. Who else in town has been in the same spot for 35 years? Pretty hard to find. And you'll find them at 13401 South Dixie Highway on US 1 across from the Falls. Open every day, 7 days a week. While you're there at Hallett, be sure and check out the complete line of GMC SUVs, including the Envoy, voted by Motor Trend as SUV of the year. And be sure and take a peek at the all-new Pontiac Vibe SUV. The Vibe has the power of a very fancy, schmancy, expensive sports car. They've also got a dependable selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. And if any other dealer in town turned you down for credit, to hell with them. Forget about them. Go to Hallett. They'll make you a deal. That's Hallett Pontiac GMC. For more info, call them at 305-238-4040. 305-238-4040 for Hallett Pontiac GMC, who be professional grade.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Down on your hands and knees and lick my boots.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Aaron Summers, and you know what? You got me talking on the passion phone. Tell me the story about how you got blown. I got you down. Yeah. Holy cow. I'll tell you once more before I hang up the phone. I got you down. The lines are jammed up. Yeah, there isn't a doubt. Call up and tell me what it's all about. I got you down. Yeah. Holy cow. I'll tell you once more before I hang up the phone. I got you down. 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 Here on the show, there's a new topic each night. Who'd you have sex with a black or with a white? I got you down. Yeah. Holy cow.
Are you...
I'll tell you once more before I hang up the phone. I got you down.
11:32 at 560 WQM. 239 votes on our poll. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11, which is coming up just 5 days away?
I don't know.
Nothing unusual, 144. I have no idea, 82. And another terrorist attack, 13. Uh-oh. Not a good number to be voting on that, 13. You're going to love this story. You're going to be you'll chuckle. You'll chortle. St. Petersburg Times. A theater instructor is on leave after she says lighter is better with regard to skin tone and stage lighting. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. In a theater class at Gibbs High School, teacher Tony Mitchell led a discussion this week about lighting on stage. Mitchell said Wednesday she told all of her students, black and white, that they should stay out of the sun. For the sake of their careers, they shouldn't get a tan because the darker someone's skin, the harder it is to light them on stage. Lighter is better, Mitchell said she told her students at the Pinellas County Center for the Arts housed at Gibbs.
Uh-oh.
Some black students thought that it was a racially insensitive remark. Delana Clark, the mother of one of those students, complained Wednesday to Principal Barbara Shorter. I just can't believe an adult, for one, let alone a teacher, would say those types of things to a black kid who may be feeling insecure already, Clark said. Not to mention paranoid. Mitchell, 47, has been placed on administrative leave with pay while the school district conducts an investigation. Is this incredible?
No, it's very credible.
School officials won't describe the nature of the investigation other than it's for allegations of inappropriate conduct in the classroom, said Jackie Spoto Bircher, an attorney for the school district. Mitchell said her leave has nothing to do with the remarks she made in theater class Tuesday. Instead, Mitchell said administrators think she was intoxicated at school, but she denies that. She and other teachers are also preparing their students to compete with the best and brightest at college and universities such as Carnegie Mellon University, Boston University, and NYU. Mitchell, hired by Pinellas Schools in 1988, said she was telling her students the truth about getting into show business. The world is ugly, okay, and the television, movie, and theater industry is ugly, she said. How can I teach when I can't teach what's true? But at least one white student wondered what her black friends would think after Mitchell said it was easier to illuminate pale skin. I just thought that could be taken the wrong way, said Janelle McKee, 14. I'm not sure how she meant it, and I'm not trying to justify what she said. She just put it the wrong way. Mitchell's remarks about lighting also drew criticism from theater professionals. I mean, if it was good enough for Al Jolson, right?
Right.
Neither is better, said G.B. Stevens, an associate professor of theater and the lighting designer for the School of Theater and Dance at the University of South Florida. I'm sorry, the Theater of School and Dance. A good lighter designer will know how to make adjustments. And who wants to go to an effing dance school anyway, Leroy? A good light designer will know how to make adjustments when lighting people of multiple shades on the stage at the same time, he said. Fanny Green, that's her name, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Fanny Green. Remember Short Fat Fanny?
Sure.
Who splits her time, maybe she's kin to Harvey Green, who splits her time between teaching at USF and working as an actor in New York, agreed. She rattled off the names of several successful black actors, including Morgan Freeman, Cicely Tyson, Avery Brooks, Whoopi Goldberg, Andre Brower, who's that?
Don't know.
And Sidney Poitier. Denzel Washington and Halle Berry recently won Oscars for Best Actor. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? All she was doing was making a point about lighting. While the lighting incidents caused her controversy, Mitchell's earned high marks for teaching. According to Mitchell's evaluation, she's an outstanding teacher, said district spokesman Ron Stone. So once again, somebody makes a remark in passing, it's taken out of context, and a bunch of schwarzers get all militant and bent out of shape about it. Makes me sick to my stomach, man. I want to puke again. God. Now, I got to tell you, I never thought I'd read anything that Jimmy Carter wrote.
Okay.
But I remember I was ripping him the other day about his trip to Cuba and his naive trips all around the world, the newfound peacemaker. And I said, go back to the peanut farm. But he wrote a column for the Washington Post yesterday. And I read it, and I looked at it, and I read it again. I said, well, you know something? It makes sense. Just because it's Jimmy Carter doesn't mean I shouldn't read it, right?
Right. He wasn't a stupid man. Just weak.
wimp.
Right.
In fact, he made Bush 1. Well, no, I don't want to say that. Bush 1 was he was the wimpiest. Fundamental changes are taking place in the historical policies of the United States with regard to human rights, writes Jimmy Carter. Our role in the community of nations in the Middle East peace process, largely without definitive debates except at times within the administration. Some new approaches have understandably evolved from quick and well-advised reactions by President Bush to the tragedy of 9/11, but others seem to be developing from a core group of conservatives who are trying to realize long pent-up ambitions under the cover of the proclaimed war against terrorism. Formerly admired almost universally as the preeminent champion of human rights, our country has become the foremost target of respected international organizations concerned about these basic principles of democratic life. We have ignored or condoned abuses in nations that support our anti-terrorism effort while detaining American citizens as enemy combatants, incarcerating them secretly and indefinitely without their being charged with any crime or having the right to legal counsel. This policy has been condemned by the federal courts, but the Justice Department seems adamant and the issue is still in doubt. Several hundred Taliban soldiers remain imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay under the same circumstances, with the defense secretary declaring that they would not be released even if they were someday tried and found to be innocent. These actions are similar to those of abusive regimes that historically have been condemned by American presidents. While the president's reserved judgment, the American people are inundated almost daily with claims from the vice president and other top officials that we face a devastating threat from Iraq's weapons of mass destruction and with pledges to remove Saddam Hussein from office with or without support from any allies. As has been emphasized vigorously by foreign allies and by responsible leaders of former administrations and incumbent office holders, there is no current danger to the U.S. from Baghdad. In the face of intense monitoring and overwhelming American military superiority, any belligerent move by Hussein against a neighbor, even the smallest nuclear test necessary before weapons construction, a tangible threat to use a weapon of mass destruction, or sharing this technology with terrorist organizations would be suicidal. But it's quite possible that such weapons would be used against Israel if our forces in response to an American attack. Let me read that sentence again because I botched it. But it's quite possible that such weapons would be used against Israel or our forces in response to an American attack. We can't ignore the development of chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons, but a unilateral war with Iraq is not the answer. There's an urgent need for UN action to force unrestricted inspections in Iraq, but perhaps deliberately so, this has become less likely as we alienate our necessary allies. Apparently, disagreeing with the President and Secretary of State, in fact the Vice President, has now discounted this goal as a desirable option. We have thrown down counterproductive gauntlets to the rest of the world, disavowing U.S. commitments to laboriously negotiated international accords. Preemptory rejections of nuclear arms agreements, the Biological Weapons Convention, environmental protection, anti-torture proposals, and punishment of war criminals have sometimes been combined with economic threats against those who might disagree with us. These unilateral acts and assertions increasingly isolate the U.S. from the very nations needed to join combating terrorism. Tragically, our government is abandoning any sponsorship of substantive negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis. Our apparent policy is to support almost every Israeli action in the occupied territories and condemn and isolate the Palestinians as blanket targets of our war on terrorism, while Israeli settlements expand and Palestinian enclaves shrink. There still seems to be a struggle within the administration over defining a comprehensible Middle East policy. The President's clear commitments to honor key UN resolutions and to support the establishment of a Palestinian state have been substantially negated by statements of the Defense Secretary that in his lifetime there will be some sort of an entity that will be established, and his reference to the so-called occupation. This indicates a radical departure from the policies of every administration since 1967, always based on the withdrawal of Israel from occupied territories and a genuine peace between Israelis and their neighbors. Belligerent and divisive voices now seem to be dominant in Washington, but they don't yet reflect final decisions of the President, Congress, or the courts. It's crucial that the historical and well-founded American commitments prevail to peace, justice, human rights, and the environment, international cooperation as well. Writes Jimmy Carter. Pretty heavy duty for him, huh?
You go, Jimmy.
And by the way, Jimmy, the hostages will be home in a few days.
Aw, so you got to rub that in.
It was just a little joke.
Live and local. This is 560.
The radio's all yours now.
QAM.
I still remember getting my first candy from my grandfather. It was Werther's Original, and I was 4. I remember it like it was only yesterday.
Hey, Gully, let's play a game.
What?
Guess what I've got in my pocket?
A piece of candy.
Right.
Guarded by a snake.
Right again.
Grandpa, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Okay, let's play Find the Candy in the Crevice.
Oh, Grandpa, it always melts when you put it there.
Yes, those games with Grandpa scarred me for life, which is why now that I'm the grandfather, I'm scarring a whole new generation with Werther's Original. Hey, Timmy, say hi to Wet Willie, the Werther's Wonder Worm.
Oh, no, not the Wonder Worm.
Werther's Original, giving children nightmares for over 60 years.
11:45 at 560 WQAM. Remember the other day I was telling you that story about the Canadian Senate? recommending that marijuana be legalized, not decriminalized, legalized.
How will I
and
forget?
that all of the convictions on everybody's record be expunged.
Right.
And that it'd be sold to kids 16 and up.
Right.
And adults. Well, guess what? And this is why I live in Amsterdam and Toronto most of the year.
Okay.
Federal agents raid farm that grows medical marijuana under California law in Santa Cruz.
Oh, no.
Medical marijuana activists said they would protest the federal raid on a marijuana farm operated by a couple who helped write the state law legalizing medical use of the plants. Officers seized more than 100 marijuana plants, 3 rifles and a shotgun in the raid yesterday, said DEA spokesman Richard Meyer in San Francisco. Owners Valerie and Michael Corral were arrested on federal charges of conspiracy and intent to distribute marijuana, he said. How do you like that? How dare they? They some kind of lunatics or what? Exactly. Medical marijuana activists said they plan to protest the raid today. These are incredibly compassionate people who work closely with law enforcement to help the sick and dying in our community, said Ben Rice, an attorney for the Corrals. This is absolutely outrageous. Valerie Corral said the weapons the agent seized were heirlooms that belonged to her and her husband's fathers and grandfathers. For your father. The Corrals helped write the 1996 law that allows patients and their caregivers to grow marijuana for their own medicine. They work with local authorities to dispense the drug to people with doctors' recommendations to use marijuana. Are you following this?
I'm
These
following.
aren't people who
I don't know.
Marty Wormhout, a Santa Cruz County supervisor, said county officials have been very impressed with the Corral's professionalism in running the club. The raid was a surprise to local medical marijuana growers and advocates, as well as the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office and even DEA officials in the agency's closest office in San Jose. Do you know the way? The farm about 15 miles north of Santa Cruz is known to local law enforcement agencies that have complied with state law rather than federal drug laws, said Sheriff spokesman Kim Allen. The DEA didn't tell us they did this, not before, not afterward, he said. DEA agents have repeatedly cracked down on high-profile medical marijuana advocates and distribution clubs in California, bypassing local law enforcement agencies that have followed the state law. Andrea Tischler, owner of the Compassion Flower Inn, where guests with doctors' recommendations are allowed to use medical marijuana, said she was outraged. We're absolutely shocked that the DEA would step in like this at harvest time when so many patients will be able to benefit from this medication, she said. We're talking a Neanderthal goddamn country is what we're talking about, okay? Run by a bunch of lunatics. Jesus, K and Christ, man. I'm starting to get pissed off, you notice?
Yeah, I do notice.
It's a good thing the weekend is here. So a first-time faxer faxes me this. We missed it, as a matter of fact. August 8th, well, I wasn't here anyway. Not that I couldn't, I still had it. What was August 8th? Look on the calendar real quick.
We turned the page already.
It's a Thursday because it says it here. Oh, that's the week I was off. Remember I was in Amsterdam? I had that whole week off, unbeknownst to me, and you reminded me, and I went and looked at it. Thank you, by the way.
Welcome.
Because actually I could speak that week, and then I came back and I was sick again. Anyway, this was in the Herald on August 8th. But there's a good ending to this story from Atlanta. An antique .38 caliber pistol accidentally discharged as it was being handled by Representative Bob Barr during a reception in his honor. The bullet hit a glass door and no one was hurt. Oh, that was an accident, but nobody got hurt. Georgia lobbyist Bruce Widener said he had removed the magazine from his 1908 Colt but didn't clear the chamber before handing the weapon to Barr, a board member of the National Rifle Association. Boy. I'm biting my tongue. You know what I'm thinking?
I know.
Widener said one of us hit the trigger just as he gave Barr the gun during reception in Widener's home. Nobody was in any danger. We were handling it safely, except that it was loaded, said Widener, an independent lobbyist.
You son of a bitch.
Exactly. You know, he forgot he said that, by the way?
You son of a bitch.
Good old Charlton. The good news, though, the good postscript to that story is it's soon-to-be former Congressman Bob Barr. Oh! Let's hear it. Who lost his election bid, man. Who lost in the goddamn primary. He's out. You're out, Bob. Take your little mustache over to Munich. Get out of here. You know, if they would have stopped Hitler at Munich.
Right. So
Paul Krugman writes in the New York... Boy, I tell you, I feel like I'm getting a lot of crap in today. Is it just my imagination or what?
No, you're being very efficient.
And I'm getting like a raw voice because... See, there's a difference between doing the stuff I do every day and getting into these long articles. I don't know why. Because I think I strain more.
Okay.
I'm straining it. Well, let's do a little pause and just give the poll result on NeilRogers.com. And don't forget the link is on there on our website to that thing. You know what thing I'm talking about?
Cheryl, yeah, I do.
The Cheryl Seal piece.
Correct.
Look at that. I just knocked a bunch of crap on the floor. But I didn't spill on yet. as Eric is updating our website and getting it within the 21st century, which is nice. It was a little bit old and stale, and he said it was George's fault, and he's right. Well, no, George told me before the show today that Eric hasn't had too much time to do it because he's been having extra feedings lately, because he's been under a lot of stress. 252 votes. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11, which is just 5 days away? Nothing unusual, 152, 60.3%. I have no idea, 86, 34.1%. And another terrorist attack, 14. I'm glad we got off that 13. Not that I'm superstitious, you understand that.
Right.
But I'm glad we, don't take any chances. 14 people, that's only 5.5% think we're going to have another terrorist attack next. See, to me, I wouldn't vote for that because it just seems too predictable, right?
Right.
Although, they're so bizarre, they might try to do exactly the same thing all over again.
I don't think so.
I said might. And that's why I said I have no idea. See, that's the thing. We don't know. They keep catching us with our pants down. Paul Krugman writes in the New York Times today, the bully's pulpit. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Colin Powell and Dick Cheney are in perfect agreement, and the Bush administration won't privatize Social Security. Ari Fleischer's insistence that Mr. Powell and Mr. Cheney have no differences over Iraq seems to have pushed some journalists into facing up at least briefly to the obvious. ABC's weblog, The Note, described it as chocolate is vanilla claiming that the Bush team has always had a credibility problem with some reporters because of their insistence on saying up is down and black is white. But the administration needn't worry. If history is any guide, many reporters will soon return to their usual cringe. The next time the administration insists that chocolate is vanilla, much of the media, fearing accusations of liberal bias, trying to create the appearance of balance, won't report that the stuff is actually brown. Chocolate, that is. Yes. I think he's trying to say something. At best, they'll report that some Democrats claim that it's brown. The Bush's team Orwellian propensities have long been apparent to anyone following its pronouncements on economics. Even during Campaign 2000, these pronouncements relied on doublethink, the ability to believe two contradictory things at the same time. For example, W's plan to partially privatize Social Security always depended on the assertion that 2 minus 1 equals 4, that we can divert payroll taxes into high-yielding personal accounts and yet use the same money to pay benefits to retirees. The Orwellian tactics don't stop with doublethink. They also include newspeak, the redefinition of words to rule out disloyal thoughts. Again, Social Security is a perfect example. Republican political consultants have found that in an era of plunging stocks and corporate scandal, the word privatization has taken on negative connotations. The answer? Deny that personal accounts constitute privatization and bully the press into going along. A Republican National Campaign Committee memo lays out the new strategy. It's very important that we not allow reporters to shill for Democratic demagoguery by inaccurately characterizing personal accounts and privatization as one and the same. It is inaccurate to say that personal accounts equal privatization. We could argue on the merits. Under the Bush plan, a worker's personal account reflects any gains or losses on its stock it represents. When risk and rewards accrue entirely to the individual, isn't that privatization? But wait, we can do better. The push to convert Social Security into a system of personal accounts has been led by the Cato Institute. The Bush plan emerged directly from Cato's project on the subject. Several members of Mr. Bush's Commission on Social Security Reform had close Cato ties, and much of the Commission's staff came straight from Cato. You can read all about Cato's role on the special website the Institute set up, socialsecurity.org. And what's the name of the Cato Project to promote personal accounts? Why, the Project on Social Security Privatization, of course. Which brings us back to the issue of intimidation. The RNCC doesn't really think it convinced people that privatization isn't privatization, but that's not the goal. The memo doesn't talk about how to communicate with the public. It's a list of demands to place on journalists. As Joshua Marshall put it at TalkingPointsMemo.com, the goal is to I love this line, is to mau reporters out of using the word privatization in this context. I love it. Remember that Papa Mau?
Yes.
And the intimidation will probably succeed, says Paul Krugman. Indeed, it's already working, as Mr. Marshall notes in a recent interview with the House Minority Leader Dick Gebhardt. Judy Woodruff on CNN duly echoed the RNCC's memo. Unfortunately, this isn't just a question of Social Security policy. Once an administration believes they can get away with insisting that black and white and up is down, and everything in this administration's history suggests it believes just that, it's hard to see where the process stops. A habit of ignoring inconvenient reality and presuming that the docile media will go along soon infects all aspects of policy, and yes, that includes matters of war and peace. The trouble is that eventually reality has a way of asserting itself, and in case you're wondering, ignorance isn't strength, says Paul Krugman in today's New York Times.
But it is bliss.
Yeah. Like that. Let's see. Principal who accused priest is played on unpaid leave. We got a whole bunch of stuff for the noon to 1 hour. And then we got Jim Mandich coming along at 1 o'clock. Hank Goldberg isn't this today the first day Hank's been in the studio in about, 6 months? No, seriously. I think I've been there before Hank came back.
No, I saw him yesterday.
How's that possible?
I saw him. It was him. Looked just like him.
Oh, maybe yesterday was the first day back because he was in the Bahamas, right, for a couple of days.
Right.
That's right. Like I said, today's Hank's second bay back. He's in the bay back. He's got a nice back like Howard. Mad Dog at 1, Hank at 3, 5:30 to 6:30. It's Hank with Dave Wanstead as everybody gets whipped up into a frenzy for the Dolphin-Lion game on Sunday. Boy, are you whipped up about that?
About what?
6:30, we got Marlins on deck. I'm sure you're in a frenzy about that, like almost everybody else in town. Marlins at the Pirates, two teams really going places. 7:05 tonight. See, the good news is nobody's going anywhere till at least 2006. No contraction. Nobody's going anywhere. Boy, there was a great article here yesterday in the Toronto Star ripping Bud Selig a big ass. It was great. Eddie K after the baseball game. Eddie's in the Bahamas doing a show. He got out of town. And ESPN sports crap overnight.
We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Now I do believe it'd be the 1 to 12 hour, and I never thought I'd find the kind of ride that I've been tooling around in today. Now it's a classic set of wheels fixed up the way a brother would like it. Now it's been clean and shiny, and the trim is gold anodized under my seat. I got a can of liquid cherry, yo. Aw, baby. Coconut granada, cherry, chariot, baby blue. Aw, baby. Shiny little velvet, little smelly machine. Took the suspension out, so I bounced down the road in a Pin Daddy Superflyway. Now it ain't hard to stop, no big deal. Someday I'll get around to fixing the brakes. A 1979 Bonbon Catalina. She's sure looking fine. Now it's my baby Cadillac. Aw, baby. Coconut granada, cherry, chariot, baby blue. Aw, baby. Shiny little velvet, little smelly machine. Yo. I got my windows down on a hot summer day, 'cause the AC don't work no way. The sweaty crash fill all seats starts to smell and gets the tussy working overtime. Now on my back seat you'll find a shiny crown that smell like lilacs. My carpet shiny too, 'cause I've been washing it with Armor All. Oh, baby. Coconut granada, cherry, baby blue. Oh, baby. Microscopic wheels going over speed bumps ain't too smooth. Aw, baby. Brush my lower interior, be fancy to me, baby blue. Aw, baby. Hey.
Sunny and about 78 in Toronto today. That's going to be the high. Going to be pretty hot over the weekend. Next 3 days going to be in the mid-80s, mid to upper 80s.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
We can handle it. Sunny, not a drop of rain. There may be a little rain overnight a couple of times since I've been back here, but no rain, no thunderstorms, no... Well, anyway, I'll tell you, that week that I was back there, good golly, Miss Molly. I told you that Tuesday, the rainstorm on the way home was brutal, and it was like a dry run almost, like a practice run, and Wednesday, it was the end of the world. I'd say the middle of October until the end of February is a great time to be down there.
Sure.
Well, if you have to be. Anyway, and the good news from Afghanistan is they've rounded up whoever the shooters were, the attempted assassins.
Good.
They've arrested them. That's the good news. The bad news is that from Miami. Bad news de la America. Yeah. Because George has faxed me, and the answer is,
no.
I'll tell you that right now. It says, even though he knows better, George faxes me, and we go through this every year. Hi, boy, wants your Buffalo Bills tickets. Well, even if I wanted to give them to him, which I quite frankly don't, because I get tired of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
What are you saying?
I'm saying I'm tired of it. They're my goddamn tickets. I gave them to Joe Costello because Joe's a friend. I like Joe. He did a lot of work for our show.
He and
highly
Miguel
underpaid.
split them up.
He came up here, had a great time. It said all the right things, like he enjoyed Nestle's turtle ice cream, even if he didn't really. I think he did. But anyway, I gave him to Joe, and then Joe divvied him up with Miguel, who, of course, I don't want to say Miguel was underpaid during all the months, and thank you, but he
That's
was
an
non-paid.
understatement. Yeah.
I mean, you can't be underpaid if you're not paid at all. So I thought that was nice of Joe to do that, and that was his choice to do, and he gave half the tickets to Miguel. So you're talking about, well, what do we got? 16 games, And then I guess the 2 exhibition games. So there's like 18. So there's like 9 games apiece is what they got. So one of them has got the Bills tickets. Now, he can go bug them, but my advice to them would be
no.
Just say, like Nancy Reagan would say, just say no, okay?
They
First of all, I know they have wheelchair access in there, but I'd hate to see like a fire alarm or something in the middle of a Dolphin game and have him have to... Can you see him tumbling down every row in P.P. Park? I can just see it right now. So, Fat Boy, the answer very simply is
no.
Get out of here. Go lose some weight. No, I mean, I wish him no ill. I wish he'd get better. I mean, I enjoy him in a very perverse way.
I think a good idea for next year would be to ask you before you actually give the tickets to somebody else.
I mean, haven't I made it very clear that I already gave them away?
Yeah, but maybe you were just joking for the show.
And hasn't the exhibition season already ended, so there have already been a couple of home exhibition games? So what is he talking about? The answer is no, Fat Boy. Go away, okay? Go eat a cannoli. Anyway, Nicholas Kristof, another great article in the New York Times today. You know, the New York Times, boy, when they're hot, they're hot. Like that Maureen Dowd column the other day?
Yes.
Although I'm still impressed by the Molly Ivins. Boy, that I might read it every day. The one about Dick?
Yep.
Good old Dick Cheney, boy. Of all of them, he may be the most dangerous of all, you know it?
Because he's not stupid.
Oh, is that it?
He's just
evil. Rumsfeld's not stupid either, but boy, he's dangerous, man. Talk about a warmonger. Talk about a lunatic. Just get everybody. I mean, whether there's any evidence or not, let's just, let's blow everybody up. Talk about a loose cannon. Even what's his name? Who played Cannon? William Conrad.
There you go.
Was never such a loose cannon. Although he did it because he ate a lot. He had some loose moments. He was great, William Conrad. Even though I know you didn't like cop shows, and I'm sure you didn't watch it. Now, that was a bad show, Jake and the Fat Man. I didn't watch that. But he was just great. Gunsmoke on the radio. See, I liked him because he was fat. He had a great voice.
Yes, he did have a great voice.
He did. In fact, when he made the transition, they wanted him, they thought about, for about 2 seconds, him playing Matt Dillon on TV, because TV was the new medium at that point. I don't think there'll be any credibility of like a fat, pudgy Matt Dillon, But he was great on radio. Even I remember that. Boy, the old days of radio, have you ever heard any of those shows?
No, I haven't, actually.
You haven't?
It would make a great collection.
Do you know that CBS Radio, back when I worked at J&O in 75, there used to be a thing overnight. I'm trying to think what the name of it was. Oh, it was the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, and they also had a lot of those old shows that they used to broadcast. The old radio, Fibber, McGee and Molly, and Suspense. Boy, those were great. But at any rate, that's ancient history. Now, of course, radio has been destroyed by just a small handful of companies, including Entercom. I just mentioned, I think every day we ought to mention them. We love our friends at Entercom, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Sure, just in case they buy out Beasley. That's the rumor. Bought up a whole bunch of stock. They didn't just buy that stock because they felt it was a good investment. Although at the price they bought it, looks like probably it was. Although, have we seen them sell it yet? Nicholas Kristof writes how we won the war in the New York Times today. You better listen to this.
I'm listening.
The American fleet confidently steamed off to war in the Persian Gulf recently and promptly got creamed. This was an elaborate war game, not the real thing, but it reminds us that an invasion of Iraq won't necessarily be a cakewalk. Moreover, a general who participated says that the war game was fiddled with in ways that raise questions about whether the government is returning to a Vietnam-style over-optimism and myopia. The game, Millennium Challenge 2002, was the largest such simulation ever held, involving 13,500 people. It began, key participants say, with the Americans confidently assuming that they could intercept enemy communications and predict enemy movements. But the enemy didn't cooperate. It used motorcycle couriers instead of radio and electronic messages and sent orders as code words inserted in the call to prayer, and this went right by the American intelligence analysts. The upshot was that the enemy sank much of the American fleet as the exercise opened. Oops. It shows that a relatively primitive or unsophisticated enemy can find ways to surprise you, said Robert Oakley, a veteran American ambassador who played the role of the enemy leader in the war games. Millennium Challenge was not directly about Iraq. It was scripted as a war against Iran set in 2007. Moreover, Saddam Hussein's best options were not available to the enemy, as the war games did not permit terrorist attacks in America, shelling of Israel, use of chemical or biological weapons, or urban fighting. Still, the $235 million exercise should teach us one clear lesson relating to Iraq: hubris kills. This was a simulation, so the Pentagon miraculously reconstituted the sunken fleet and attacked again. That's standard for war games, where the idea is not just to win, but also to test equipment and concepts. But the absurdism got worse. The people running the war games even ordered the enemy to pull its forces back in order to allow American units to land safely, according to Paul Van Riper, a retired Marine lieutenant general who played the enemy's military commander. Then I asked to use chemical weapons, General Van Riper recalled. That was refused. The people running the war games even ordered the enemy to disclose some of its troop locations so that the Americans could find them, General Van Riper said. And when the enemy figured out how to move its chemical weapons around so that the Americans couldn't find them, that caused problems for the simulation, so control of the chemical weapons was handed over to the Americans, who then managed to destroy them.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, well, here you go. Destroy. Okay. We'll destroy them. The Pentagon view of the exercise, not surprisingly, is more glowing. U.S. technology and coordination shined, and U.S. crushed the enemy in the end. General Peter Pace, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, indicated that such war games are artificial scenarios that inevitably require a certain amount of unreality, like reviving the dead. I absolutely believe that it was not rigged, General Pace said. Allowing the enemy to use chemical weapons against the Americans, he said, would have disrupted the entire exercise and added to its expense. Okay, it's true that war games are not held. The test will be whether the Pentagon studies the mistakes made, applies lessons to Iraq planning, and sticks pins into bushies who are unreasonably overconfident about Iraq. I asked General Van Riper if the war games should make us nervous. There's an unfortunate culture developing in the American military that maybe should make you nervous, he said. I don't see the rich intellectual discussions that we had after Vietnam. I see mostly slogans, cliches, and unreadable materials. General Van Riper said the mood reminded him of the mindset in Vietnam, excessive faith in technology, inadequate appreciation of the fog of war, lack of understanding of the enemy, and simple hubris. Myself, I'm a wimp on Iraq, says Nick Kristof. I'm in favor of invading, but only if we can win easily. So can we? I'd feel reassured if the decision to invade was being made honestly after a rigorous weighing of all the risks. Instead, I detect a cheery Vietnam-style faith that obstacles can be assumed away. That only works in war games, he said.
Very good.
Huh? You feel confident now?
No. Oh, yeah.
Boy, this is all so depressing. Well, you know something? If you want to put your head in the stand like a freaking ostrich, just go right ahead. There's plenty of sand in South Florida, and you got plenty of company. Be my guest. 279 votes on the poll. What do you think is going to happen on this coming Wednesday, 9/11, on the anniversary? Nothing unusual, 166, almost 60%. I have no idea, 95, 34%. Another terrorist attack, 18, a little under 6.5%. 11 past noon at QM, we got the Mad Dog coming up 1 o'clock this afternoon, who is trying very hard to keep his Johnson straight, which probably ain't easy with all the excitement about that first regular season game coming Sunday. Him and Mo working together. I mean, the other stuff was like an exercise, you know, like what I just talked about. But him and Mo on the first regular season game, the pressure is going to be so strong you'll be able to smell it miles away. Speaking of being able to smell it, the humidity and the heat are enough to like make you pass out in South Florida. But, and of course it's already early September, but here's a product that'll help you feel good and in the pink of good health all year round, and that's Oleomed. It's got the best olive oil under the sun, and of course for centuries now, mankind has known that olive oil is one of the best things on the face of the globe. Oleomed is a soft gel capsule. You just pop it in your puss. It's got the best olive oil you'll find anywhere in there, along with vitamins and minerals and herbals to promote health for all different parts of your body. There's one product specifically designed for your prostate, one designed to help your heart, one for your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your circulatory system, your digestive and endocrine systems, your skin and bones, and one even for your mind, all using the benefits of pharmaceutical-grade olive oil. And Oleomed's got products for men and you ladies out there as well, all four of you. Oleomed's available at Walgreens. Pick some up today, Whole Food Markets. Oh, and by the way, at the end of Passions today, Luis walks in just as, what's his name? Antonio, and is about to hop on Sheridan's Bones. Oleomed's available at Walgreens, Whole Food Markets, Navarro Pharmacy, and Sedanos. It's a stupendous, exciting, effective new product. If you want to find out more about where you get it and what it is and what it does, call their toll-free number and ask all the questions you'll be having. Call 1-866-OLEOMED. That's 1-866-OLEOMED, or order their products on their website if you prefer at oleomedamerica.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Know that the Lord even loves Neil Rogers.
Tired of the same boring old communion wafers at holiday mass?
Open wide, Billy, and prepare to receive thy Savior.
Oh, geez, Father O'Malley, wafers again?
Now, Billy, this isn't just any wafer.
It's not?
No, through the divine miracle of transubstantiation, I've turned this ordinary wafer into the divine blessed body of Christ.
Well, why does the body of Christ have to taste so yucky?
Spice up your next communion with new Christ-A-Roni. Christ-A-Roni is a special blend of rice, spices, and seasonings, plus a bit of the body of Christ in every fluffy forkful. And Christ-A-Roni cooks up perfect every time, as he should.
Can I have some more Christ, Father?
That's Christ-A-Roni, Billy.
Amen to that.
Christ-A-Roni, the transubstantiation treat.
12:15 at 560 WQAM. How's the weather today? You at least got a nice day today?
No.
Oh. So I won't say again that there's almost not a cloud in the sky and it's sunny and about 77 is going to be the high today. In fact, I can tell you what it is right now. You want to know?
No.
Air quality index is good. The UV index is 6 in the moderate range. Sunny, and here comes the temperature. Any second now. Sunny and 24. 75 right now. 24 Celsius. Got it? Not that we want to rub it in. Me and my bluebird on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one. I got to play that. You know, I just have to play it.
Kills a good time.
No, I just love that bit. You probably don't like it.
No, I like it. I played it several times.
Did you really?
Sure.
Remus. Oh, this is a terrible story. This is pathetic. But again, you know, in a world where human life is like cockroaches, boy 14 shot and killed by police officers inside church after pointing BB gun at officers.
He won't do that again.
I'm sure he won't. Albuquerque, New Mexico. A 14-year-old boy said he was possessed by demons, went to church for help, but was shot by police after pointing what turned out to be a BB gun at officers, authorities said. Dominic Montoya came to Taylor Ranch Baptist Church looking for prayer, said Minister of Education Cindy Harrison. He said he'd been having some struggles all the way up through town and that he was possessed by demons and wanted prayer and needed help, Harrison told the Albuquerque Tribune. He looked very troubled. Harrison said the choir director's wife sat down and prayed with Montoya, but then noticed he had a gun. She got the attention of her husband, who was in the church's worship center with their 2 young children, and he called police. Detective Jeff Arbogast said when officers arrived, Montoya pointed a BB gun at them and was shot twice in the abdomen. Police said he'd earlier threatened his mother, neighbors, and church members with the same gun. His mindset is really unclear, Arbogast said. We're trying to understand why he did what he did. Police have been called earlier by Montoya's mother, who told them she and her 3-year-old child had fled their home after Montoya pointed a BB gun at her and threatened her, Arbogast said. Officers went to the home where neighbors told them Montoya had entered their homes, threatened them with a gun, and left. About an hour later, police received a call from the church about a teenager with a gun. Arbogast said the officers didn't know it was the same boy involved in the earlier threats. 3 officers were placed on paid leave for 3 days, standard procedure after shootings involving police, Arbogast said. Pretty pathetic. Sad. Speaking of sad, Oval Office won't yield energy papers by Pete Yost from the AP. Citing congressional concerns, Vice President Dick Cheney and the White House are refusing to turn over information in 2 lawsuits against the Bush administration's Energy Task Force. In court papers filed this week, the Justice Department said requiring Cheney's Energy Task Force to produce documents and provide written answers to Judicial Watch and the Sierra Club would interfere with the executive branch's authority to give the president confidential advice. Further responses by Cheney and the task force would impose upon the executive unconstitutional burdens, the Justice Department wrote. Justice Department, which of course is John Ashcroft. The information the 2 private groups are seeking is under the direct control of and therefore from the President of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, yada yada. The unctuous Judicial Watch and the Sierra Club are trying to learn the details of industry influence on the National Energy Plan that Cheney's task force formulated more than a year ago. The results of that plan, a comprehensive energy package, are before a House Senate Conference Committee. You don't think that big business influenced that energy plan, do you?
No.
I sure don't. The White House's move will require further rulings by U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan, who ordered evidence gathering to proceed in the suits. The judge has said he wants the process to be focused to avoid raising constitutional issues. Sullivan had given the White House till Tuesday to file objections. The next hearing is scheduled for September 13, which is next Friday, a week from today. They're not telling nobody nothing. Principal who accused priest is placed on unpaid leave, and maybe shouldn't have told nobody nothing either, because that's the way it works. A Catholic school principal from Queens who accused her former pastor of financial and sexual wrongdoing was put on an unpaid leave of absence just hours before the new school year started on Wednesday. The principal, Barbara Samid of St. Elizabeth School in Ozone Park, we were talking about Ozone earlier, remember that?
Yes.
But not about Ozone Park, was ordered to leave at 3 p.m. on Tuesday just after telling church officials she'd reveal more about the former pastor. She was ordered to leave the school immediately, if not sooner, and was prohibited from entering school property for the rest of her indefinite leave. This is a Catholic school. Roman Catholic Church officials said they were only responding to Mrs. Samid's request. In a letter dated August 29, she has to be transferred from the school where she's been principal for 2 years or placed on paid leave of absence. She said she felt so upset by the situation it would endanger her health to continue as principal. Mrs. Samid's lawyer, Michael Dowd, said, however, she was removed as retribution. Call her what you will, she was fired, Mr. Dowd said. Her threat to expose more of what happened to her at St. Elizabeth's resulted in the victim of these despicable acts being attacked yet again. Mrs. Samid said that as late as Tuesday morning, when she met with returning teachers for several hours, she had received no reply from officials and so was prepared to continue as principal. After the faculty meeting, Mrs. Samid said she had a dispute with the present pastor, the Reverend Stephen A. Ferrari. I wonder what kind of car he drives. She told him she planned to amend a complaint of sexual harassment against the former pastor, the Reverend John Thompson, to include charges of physical abuse and sexual assault. But my last words to Father Ferrari were, I'm staying here, she said. A few hours later, her lawyers got a fax notice that she was being put on unpaid leave immediately, if not sooner. Mrs. Hamid said she was devastated by the letter, even though she'd asked for a transfer or paid leave. I told them that a priest was stealing money and abusing me, so why am I the victim now? Mrs. Hamid said, why are they doing this to me? See the way they always do this? They always turn it around? Father Ferrari, of course, did not return a call seeking comment. The assistant principal, a member of the faculty, will fill in for Mrs. Hamid. Mrs. Hamid's departure is the second time in the last few months that St. Elizabeth's has been engulfed by controversy. In June, Mrs. Hamid went to the district attorney's office saying that Father Thompson had used as much as $300,000 in parish funds to support his openly gay lifestyle, which he said included allowing a gay teenager to live with him for a time in the parish rectory. A grand jury is investigating that. No charges have yet been brought against Father Thompson, who resigned from his parish in March. But officials of the Diocese of Brooklyn say they expect charges soon. The diocesan officials acknowledged that school funds were unaccounted for, but far less than what she said, that bitch. That troublemaking bitch. How do you like that? So in spite of all that dog and pony show, and in spite of all that crap they put on in Dallas and in Rome and all, it's still the same old deal. Sweep it under the carpet. Even the people at Dry Concepts couldn't get all that crap out of the carpet. You know what I'm talking about? Couldn't do it. That's the way it is. When in doubt, sweep it out. Revised 9/11 flight restrictions announced for those of you who are going to be flying. And, we took that poll, and, of course, they diddled it up that day. There aren't going to be too many people flying 9/11. That's why they're offering those free fares and dollar fares, etc. The federal government yesterday announced flight restrictions coinciding with public ceremonies at 3 September 11th crash sites. The temporary rules are less stringent than those presented to the aviation industry last week. The proposal would have banned internationally owned airlines from flying over the sites on the anniversary of the terrorist. They went ballistic, by the way, in Europe.
Yeah.
Alitalia, KLM, British Skier, Air France in your pants. They all went nuts. The rules limit flying within a 34.5-mile radius of the event sites below 18,000 feet. Passengers on commercial airlines will be required to remain seated for 30 minutes after takeoff and 30 minutes before landing in the three areas. And if you got to wear a bag. Private flying will be banned or in some cases limited to aircraft operating under instrument flight rules. Sightseeing and training flights will also be banned. In New York, the restrictions will be in effect from 7 a.m. on September 11 until 8 p.m. September 13. Private planes will be banned shortly before, during, and after public outdoor events on all 3 days. In Washington, the restrictions will be in effect from 8:30 in the morning to 11 a.m. on September 11th. Flights will be banned over a ceremony at the Pentagon. In Somerset, Pennsylvania, flights will be banned over and near the outdoor ceremony. So there you go. Like I said, don't be flying on it's up to you. Don't be flying. Oh, and here's another one of those priest stories. Jesus, God Almighty, you know it? Every time I take another peek, here's another one. This is from Illinois. The Diocese of Peoria and a former priest have accused each other of lying in statements to the media regarding a defamation lawsuit the priest filed after he was accused of sexually abusing girls. See, we seem to be having a rush on these now with females. Trying to balance it out.
It's about time.
Edward Bush. Oh, that's bad. Edward in the Bush, 71, was one of 7 priests asked to step down in April amid the allegations. He's suing for more than $50,000 in damages, though he says he only wants to clear his name. Among other things, Bush complained the suit filed Wednesday that he was never told of the allegations or given a chance to defend himself, and that the victims suffer from repressed memories. Bishop Daniel Jenke and Vice Chancellor Patricia Gibson said in their statement yesterday they discussed the charges with Bush and he never denied them. They also said he agreed to resign from active ministry. He's had a change of heart. Jenke said he, his staff and review board, found credible accusations made by 2 adult women who claimed Bush abused them in grade school. He knows who the victims are and details of the accusations against him of sexual misconduct, Gibson be saying. Bush's lawyer said the church's officials yesterday's statement might become part of his client's defamation lawsuit. The press release not only contains many inaccuracies, but also statements that further injure my client's good reputation, attorney Aldo Botti said. The lawsuit names the diocesan church officials as defendants. Who do you believe? I think they're all full of crap. I don't believe anything. Internet Freedom, also victim of September 11th group, says. Paris. Security measures have curbed cyberspace so much since the September 11th attacks that the Internet can be counted among the collateral damage caused that day, a worldwide media watchdog group is saying yesterday. The Paris-based Reporters Without Borders group, RSF, said in a report that Western countries normally concerned about press freedom used last year's attacks as a pretext to curb basic freedoms or crack down on domestic opponents. New laws extending the data is held by Internet service providers, ISPs, and making that available to intelligence services has to make ISPs and telecommunications companies into a potential arm of the police, RSF head Robert Menard said. There's a word missing there. The U.S., Britain, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Denmark, the European Parliament, the Council of Europe, and the G8 nations have all challenged cyber freedoms over the past year, Menard said in a statement accompanying the report. Citizens in Europe and elsewhere would be outraged if their governments let police routinely read letters sent through their postal services, he argued. Yet these are exactly the kind of measures that have been taken or being taken concerning the Internet. We need to be much more vigilant. Among the laws RSF criticized as curbing Internet rights were the UN Security Council Resolution 1373 on fighting terrorism, the USA Patriot Act, and amendments tightening European Union rules on protecting electronic data. The USA Patriot Act let the FBI monitor email traffic of people suspected of contacts with a foreign power, but messages from innocent private citizens have been intercepted, the RSF report said. Maybe there were people of interest. You think that could be it?
Could be.
In Britain, the RSF report said police in many cases no longer need prior approval from a judge to monitor financial transactions and private email online. France has given judges the power to order email messages to be decoded, and encryption firms to hand over their codes so authorities can read email. Police can also make remote online searches of ISP records. Germany has given its intelligence services unlimited access to the police database and given both more access to telephone and internet records about suspected persons. Italy eased rules for internet surveillance and greatly increased the number of police and security officials authorized to do so. India's Prevention of Terrorism Ordinance authorized the government to monitor email with no prior permission and use the evidence it found in court cases. RSF said the current Danish presidency wanted the EU to oblige telephone companies and ISPs to retain all traffic records so security services could consult them if necessary. In other words, they're watching us.
Oh!
Big brother, baby. They're all over your ass. 1227 at 560 WQAM. VIPSportsbook.com is an amazing thing for you. You want to know why? Because VIPSportsbook.com is the only sportsbook in the universe to be endorsed by each and every one, all the industry watchdog groups since 1996. That's what Gary Sarner told me. You know what else he said?
What?
The Casino Times News recent issue says you can look, but you just won't find a better overall sportsbook than VIPSportsbook.com. But maybe you're looking for more than just a world-class book that offers you 24-hour VIP service and the safety of a leader. How about this? How about the highest parlay odds anywhere you'll find, up to 2,000 to 1, minimum bets of only $5, and free withdrawals 24 hours a day, and a 15% cash bonus added to that first deposit as well. And this isn't some jungle book located like in Yennemsveld or like in Jacksonville. This is Dutch-based VIPSportsbook.com, where you're treated with class and your money is safe, or like in Lutz. Sign up online and get you a 15% cash bonus added to your account, or call them at 866-VIP-BETS. Even the call is free. 1-866-VIP-BETS. Easy to get started. Just go to VIPSportsbook.com. And don't forget, when you sign up online, you get you that 15% cash bonus. VIPSportsbook.com, where you be the VIP.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
You call this big market radio?
Eisner?
Mr. Mouse?
What the hell are you doing to me?
What do you mean, sir?
Why am I reading in the paper you're going to put a Disney theme park in Brooklyn?
Well, sir, we're just scouting locations.
Jesus, I'm scouting CEOs. You are killing me.
But sir, look what we've done with New York City, Times Square, 42nd Street.
Hang on. Remus! Remus! Turn off the vacuum cleaner, Remus! Get that bluebird out of here!
Okay, boss.
Eisner.
But sir, look what we've done with Midtown Manhattan. 42nd Street is incredible.
Oh, you know what? Publicly, I supported that, but you took all the porn away. You're killing me. I'm going through Gaviscon like Pez.
We're just scouting areas. Calm down.
Listen to me, Butt Munch. Don't tell me to calm down. We got lucky with Lilo and Stitch, $128 million. Now, you're trying to ruin the whole network. What kind of programming are you running? Hang on a minute. Remus!
Yeah,
you've got bluebird crap all over your shoulder. Clean yourself up, for heaven's sake. And turn off the vacuum cleaner.
Okay, boss.
Good God.
Sir, the network is fine.
Why couldn't you come up with American Idol? Good God, you're still running James Bond movies. They're 60 years old. Why don't you just put Steamboat Willie on and be done with it? At least then I'd make a couple of damn dollars.
Well, the movie division's fine. You mentioned Lilo and Stitch, and now we have the new M. Night Shyamalan movie coming out later this summer.
I know, signs. What the hell does that mean? Stop sign, yield sign? You gotta start swinging some of these titles past me.
Please.
Remus. Remus.
Can't hear you,
You're still running the vacuum cleaner!
Yes, I'm right, Boss. I'm running the vacuum.
Get out of here, Remus, and take that bluebird with you!
All right.
Hi, sir.
Yes, sir?
I'd be very careful the next time I started my car if I were you.
What do you mean, sir?
I'm about done with you.
What?
About done.
What, sir?
I'll put Hannah Storm in your job.
But, sir,
You're terrible.
I'm sorry.
Maybe I'll put Remus in there. How'd you like to be president of Disney, Remus?
Oh, my.
What a wonderful day. Get out of here, you nutbag.
12:33 at 5:60. Now, did you notice that this fax that you just sent to me on the headline of the letterhead?
Yeah,
Bush,
yeah.
Bush Brogan.
Right.
It came from Power 96.
Somebody faxed it to them, I think.
Oh, I see. Well, you can send Power 96 all the Jeb Bush propaganda you want, and I'd like to point out to whoever sent that fax in, the Herald endorsed Bill McBride, okay? I saw that crap in there today. I have better thing, more important things to talk about than whether he's a hypocrite. They're all full of crap, okay? But he sure ain't Jeb Bush, I'll tell you that. We love Bill McBride.
Oh!
We love Janet, too. You know, she's okay for an old shaky,
Nothing personal.
But the fact is she can't win the election. She hasn't got a Chinaman's chance. So that's why we really love Bill McBride, because I think that being the good old boy that he is, he could, and that's why they're crapping their pants. That's why they ran those anti-McBride spots.
Right.
Because the Bush people are crapping a big smelly pile, man.
I don't see any them running any anti-Janet spots.
Isn't that amazing here? The people who stole the election, that damn bitch in Palm Beach, Teresa Lepore, that bitch, is still at her job, the butterfly ballot bitch. And Catherine Harris gets a reward that now she's going to be winning a goddamn political seat? What the hell's that all about? And, of course, you know she'll win because if she doesn't, she'll still win.
Right.
She'll probably get a phone call like 2 in the morning. Oh, you won, don't worry.
They owe her one.
NAS issues. Now, you're not going to like this, but I don't care. I'm going to get this in before the weekends. And that book again, Eating a Lot. And I know I'm fat, not as fat as I used to be, but I'm trying. I'm working hard at it. And I got all this goddamn yeast, this candida. And you know what we never got?
What?
We never got a fax about the damn negative ion.
Ionizer thing.
Well, what the hell's wrong with these people out there?
You
think
got
maybe...
lots of time.
I beg your pardon?
You got lots of time before you get back in town. Oh, you want to get one for up there, like, right now?
No, the ones I get up here, I'm going to order off the internet. I'll have them shipped here. In fact, I'll get them from inside Canada. Then it's a lot easier. Then they don't have to pay those damn outrageous customs fees. You follow what I'm saying?
A furler.
Don't you think there's plenty of companies up here that make that crap? Because there
I'm
are.
sure.
But at any rate, no, I'm talking about just in general. I would have thought we'd have gotten some info on that. But that's okay, because we did get a lot of good stuff on the fax machine. I just thought, don't think, man. Don't think. NAS, you know what the NAS is?
No.
Issues new dietary guidelines. It's the National Academy of Sciences.
Oh, that one.
Sweeping new nutritional recommendations issued yesterday by the National Academy of Sciences. Double the amount of exercise Americans should have daily.
No.
After previous guidelines about fat consumption and urge more fiber in the diet. Now, you know something? This goes to show you how full of crap they are, okay? Because I just got through reading an extensive article about how more fiber in the diet will do nothing to prevent colon cancer or all these other things it's supposed to do.
Right.
That's a pile of crap, okay? That makes me want to barf and you see how many things that have happened today that want to make me puke?
Mm-hmm.
God, you wait till 1 o'clock, I'm going to be like all over the place. No, actually, I'm not. I'm going to go out and get some deli. That's in honor of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Good.
In fact, next week on Yom Kippur, I'm going to go out. I'm not going to fast. I'll go out and eat deli again. What's wrong with that? Maybe get some good kishki?
You don't have to eat the bread.
Anyway, cut back on foods with added sugar, including soft drinks, candy, and pastries. The voluminous report also sets broad new targets for how many calories to eat based daily in part on physical activity and establishes the first recommended dietary allowances for carbohydrates. And by the way, this Eating Alive 2 by Dr. John Matt, whatever his name is, Mattson. Refined carbohydrates. Man, he attacks them all the way through the book. Rips them an ass. Rips them a major, major ass. Refined carbohydrates, trans fatty acids. And you're going to go out and get French fries. I can smell it, you know. I know it.
hungry.
I know it right now. Just out of spite, because you're a militant little spick. After the show, you're going to get in that car, rush right over to goddamn McDonald's,
right over here,
and order
2
like.
blocks away.
In fact, you probably go to Wendy's and get 5 orders of Biggie fry. Although you hate their fries.
Oh, no, nasty.
Oh. Well, see, maybe that's why they have that Biggie fry thing. They figure if they can't make them good, at least give you a whole bunch of them anyway.
Yeah, that's good logic.
It also establishes the. Well, wait a minute. Let me go back. Both adults and children consume at least 130 grams a day of 130 grams a day of carbohydrates? Oh my God! Are you ready for this? That doesn't say refined. It also establishes the first recommended intake for 2 healthy fats that appear to help reduce sudden death from heart disease. Known as polyunsaturated fats, these beneficial fats can't be manufactured by the body and need to be eaten every day. Food sources include milk, as well as flaxseed, soybean. You know something? They can take their recommendations, the National Academy of Sciences, and stick them up their ass. What they know about nutrition, you could stick up Oprah's butt and have room left over for the Chinese army.
Oprah.
Oprah's
Anthony's
ass.
partner?
God, does that make me sick. This is why we're all dying in America, baby. The doctors have let us down. The government with their, 3 square meals and their little pyramid, Oh, come on. They know nothing. And you want to know why they don't want to tell you nothing? Because it's bad for business.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, have you ever seen the spot on TV for the Cheerios where he talks about it's going to help him live longer?
Oh, yeah.
The father's talking to his little kid.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to decrease my chance of heart disease, and I'm going to live longer and lower my cholesterol with Cheerios. In the meantime, what they're eating there is all goddamn refined carbohydrates. And they let that go on the air. And they're all pissed off about Miss Cleo. I got news for her. Miss Cleo at least was fun and had a little bit of honesty there in the bottom of the screen in very, very tiny print said, this is a hoax, and if you call this number, you're an asshole, but we'll take your money anyway. At least they were honest about that. But these peddlers of poison, man, and that's what they are, P-O-P, peddlers of poison. They're killing us, including me. Addictive crap. And I don't see the difference. Nicotine in cigarettes gets you hooked on faggots, right?
Right.
And the same thing with the sugar and all these, and most of it is hidden sugar.
Right.
They put sugar in ketchup. They put it in goddamn spaghetti sauce. They even stick some in your
rectum.
And by the way, I should point out, he says in here that except for, what was the one I told you before the show? Stevia. S-T-E-V-I-A. I got it right here, as a matter of fact. He said that one doesn't feed yeast, and it doesn't cause an increase in blood sugar levels, and doesn't promote decay, et cetera, and so on. And he points out that any form, fructose, any lactose, any kind of sugar, including even the ones, anything that ends in O-L.
O-L.
Right. Maltitol, sorbitol, all these things. Bad. Poison. That's what he says. I rest my case. And you know something? Maybe that's why when you eat that stuff, it tears your guts. Maybe your body's trying to tell you something. Sorbitol, man. Poison. Mannitol, maltitol, sorbitol. Crap.
Pitol.
Crap it all. And you will. Oh, believe me. You'll crap like you know. If you have problems, I told you before, I don't know why in fact, why don't you go over to my mother's house and bring her a couple of boxes of those diet candies, the ones that are loaded with maltitol? Oh, will she have a smile on her face? She'll be busy.
What's she making for lunch?
In fact, I think maybe you and Rimmer can go over there, and Rimmer can buy you lunch at my mom's. 20 till 1 at 5. By the way, thanks to Farrell, I got my P's. Farrell Rimmer, she's great. And also, did I mention that Dr. Hamp called the house the other day?
No.
Goes to show you the power of the show. Not only we get the website on their chains at the Sun Sentinel because of Tom Dicker's embarrassment with his cooking show listings, but also Dr. Hamp, because I just mentioned her name in passing the other day.
Yeah.
And 2 people talked to her and mentioned that I was taking Afrin, which is the nose spray, taking up the nose. And so she called our house, told John, well, be sure and it's addictive. And, don't worry, Doc, okay, I'm fine. I'm not.
I was trying to tell you about that.
I know some people. What?
That nose spray is addictive. I know nose spray junkies.
I am not addicted to nose spray. I know somebody. We both know people who've been addicted to nose spray who used to leave a trail of bottles of nasal spray all over the goddamn station lawn in the old days gone by, but that wasn't me.
Who's talking about the old days?
Yeah, I'm not addicted to Afrin, believe me. 19, we better get going here because the Mad Dog don't want to wait. 19 to 1 at 560 QAM. Hey, the people at Dollar Mattress are waiting for you to talk to them and order you a great brand new name brand mattress. And you should if the old one is worn out. And they don't last forever. Even if you have the best mattress in the world, I'll tell you right now, they don't last forever. And the way you tell is if you're not getting a good night's sleep anymore, if it's lumpy and bumpy in the mattress too, pick up the phone and call the people you're going to love doing business with, like I've been doing for years. Dial a Mattress. 1-800-Mattress. Just that one simple, easy call. Even a moron can dial that number. And all you do is talk to people that are going to hook you up with exactly what you're looking for. The top brands in the world. No bait and switch. No phony baloney stuff. Exactly what you order is what you'll get. Sealy, Serta, Simmons, King Coil. You know I love all of those names. Whichever one you like the best, whichever kind of mattress you want, that's what you're going to get. And, of course, they deliver it when it's convenient for you. Any 2-hour window, 7 days a week. 10 to noon, 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 4 to 6. You follow? Good. So pick up that phone right now. Tell them that old Neil told you to call. Don't forget about that 30-day in-home comfort guarantee, too. It lets you test it out the real way for as long as up to a month in your home. 1-800-Mattress for a good night's sleep for years to come. 1-800-MATTRES or check them out on that wicked World Wide Web at mattress.com.
My and local. This is Sports Radio 560, QAQAM.
Now, there's a healthy way to eat breakfast at Denny's.
Welcome to Denny's. May I take your order?
Yeah, I think I'll have the Bran Slam breakfast, please.
Sure thing.
Introducing the Bran Slam breakfast at Denny's. It's a brand new twist on an old favorite. You'll get 2 bran muffins, 2 bowls of raisin bran, 2 stacks of home-style bran cakes, and a jumbo glass of cranberry juice cocktail.
This Bran Slam breakfast is delicious. I've never tasted anything so... I'll be right back.
The Bran Slam breakfast really gets you going in the morning.
Can I help you?
I really need to use the restroom.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. There's a 30-minute wait to be seated.
Dump your old breakfast habit and take a healthy one with the Bran Slam breakfast at Denny's.
12:45. I can remember that experience at Denny's, as a matter of fact. The one in Oakland, let's not talk about it.
Why not?
Let's not. Anyway, yeah, the people know nothing about it. In fact, you remember there were people dying from bran when it used to be fashionable a few years ago?
Right.
For people to be sprinkling bran many years ago. Yeah, they used to buy a bag of bran, and then they'd smear bran on their cereal, on this, and put it in their meat.
On their
Nothing
ice
worse
cream?
than sticking bran in your meat. And anyway, if you don't drink enough water with bran, you know how it's like sticks in your throat and stuff like that. People were choking to death on it. People were dying from it. So that whole thing about fiber and it'll prevent colon cancer and this, well, guess what? Guess what, folks? They changed their mind. See, all of these claims that they come out, just like with milk. There's no reason for human beings to be drinking cow's milk. Is there any other creature on the face of the globe that drinks another animal's milk?
No.
Of course not. Oh, but milk is good for it. It builds strong bodies. And what about Wonder Bread that kills strong bodies 8
Wonderful.
ways? Yeah. White bread, poison, pure, unadulterated. It's like eating cotton. It's like reaching into Marlon Brando's mouth while he's filming The Godfather and sucking on that cotton. By the way, do you know he was pissed off? Remember when Michael got his chin busted by McCluskey?
Yeah. What about it?
Well, he had to borrow half the cotton in it. Remember?
Oh.
You can't wait. You can't wait.
It's not personal.
EPA says diesel exhaust from large trucks and other sources probably cause cancer. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Diesel exhaust from large trucks and other sources probably cause lung cancer, the EPA concluded Tuesday, in a report that buttresses a push to reduce truck emissions through stricter requirements for cleaner diesel fuel. The EPA report concludes that uncertainties remain about long-term health effects of exposure to diesel exhaust. It said, however, that studies involving both tests on animals and occupational exposure suggest strong evidence of a cancer risk to humans. Overall, the evidence for a potential cancer hazard to humans resulting from chronic inhalation exposure to diesel emissions is persuasive, said the health impact report released by the EPA. So in other words, it's probably not a good idea to be sitting in traffic behind a bunch of diesel crap.
No.
And what about school buses that are pouring out that crap into the air, huh?
No question.
Do you ever get stuck behind one of those in traffic
What
and
do you
you're
mean,
just
did I
gagging, gagging because air conditioning, of course, in the cars brings in all that air from the outside,
Recirculate it, baby.
Oh, God, you're like gagging on it. I think the only thing worse than diesel fuel are diesel dikes. That's what Janet said. EPA Administrator Christy Whitman repeatedly has promised to go ahead with the tougher diesel rules. Last month, with White House approval, the EPA rebuffed attempts by some diesel engine manufacturers to postpone the requirements, approving new penalties against manufacturers who failed to meet an October deadline for making cleaner burning truck engines. Well, isn't that something, huh? Isn't that quite? Well, of course, what do they care about the truckers? You know, they're small potatoes. Patriotism may raise voter turnout. Oh! Here we go. An image flashes of firefighters draping an American flag over the side of the Pentagon. An announcer says, "Dreamers live it, heroes die for it. All the freedom, all the promise, all the powers in your hands. Use it, vote." It's a television ad put out by Ohio Secretary of State, part of a Get Out the Vote campaign by election officials and interest groups, hoping to use patriotic feeling year after the terrorist attacks as a remedy for chronically low, embarrassing low voter turnout. I think I voted last year, in 2000, I think. I'm not sure, though. I was there. Traditional appeals to patriotism normally aren't very effective, but I think this year there are going to be a lot of self-reflecting around September. There may be an impact, says Kay Albowitz, Communication Director at the National Association of Secretaries of State. And, of course, if a whole bunch of people turn out, especially like in Broward, that should make for a real picnic. Bring your own ants and tablecloth. The attacks made people want to do something, she says. Sierra Club Executive Director Carl Pope agreed. We all need to re-engage in politics, blending the new volunteerism and the new patriotism into a new democracy, he said, until they take us away and put us in one of those camps. The Sierra Club is running ads in a dozen states saying that since 9/11, more people have sought solace in wild places and now have the opportunity at the ballot box to protect those places and demonstrate their patriotism. I spent a few months in a wild place the last year. Amsterdam. Land of the red, white, and blue, where we treasure wilderness and celebrate spacious skies. We all care about our country. Now we need candidates who will care for our country, the ads say. And, of course, the obvious question is, where the hell do we find them? 315 votes on our poll. As we approach that day, man, as the media starts building up in just a phenomenal feeding frenzy with 75 million hours. And they had a blurb on here before on CNN about the psychologists recommend that your children not be exposed to excessive hours of viewing all these grotesque events and the rehashing over and over again.
Right.
And, of course, if it's not good for children, it probably isn't a good idea for most adults to be, like, subjecting themselves to reliving those horrors over and over. You follow what I'm saying?
Wallering.
Haven't we seen that second plane going to the South Tower often enough, don't you think?
No, one more time.
Maybe one more time we need to see it. And you know something? Maybe they could combine those highlights with the doggy snuff films on CNN.
You know what?
Since they have the exclusive to the entire thing. Puppy snuff films on CNN. Certainly not news. What do we got? That thing is 316 votes. What do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11, which is next Wednesday, only 5 days away? Nothing unusual. 192. Over 60%, almost 61%. I have no idea. 105, 33.2%. A third of the audience.
You turd.
And another terrorist attack, 19. 6% of the people crapping in their pants.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Happy Purim.
It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I'm gonna watch HBO. There's some dumb show about a funeral home. Where did Tony and Big Pussy go? I've had to wait over a year and a half to see if that Russian guy's dead. But when I turn on the tube, I'm sure getting screwed because they're showing our list instead. Goomba, Goomba, da da da. Goomba, da da da. Where the hell are the Sopranos, man? I've waited too long for this thing. I want to see Polly and Silvio in the back room of the Bada Bing.
No.
It's been so long since the last episode. There's so many things I forgot. Did Paulie get whacked? Is Furio smoking crack? And does Tony still sail the Stugat?
Stugat.
So I pick up the latest TV guide, and that's when I start feeling fine. Thank God HBO's bringing back the day goes each and every Sunday at 9.
All right.
Oh, it's season 4 of The Sopranos, man. Good thing they're bringing it back. If I had to wait even 1 second more, I'd have my cable guy whacked.
Yeah, no.
Hey, forget about it. It's about friggin' time, ain't it?
Anyway, we had a little battle of the buttons going on there. It was kind of cute. 12:57 at 560 WQAM. You know, one of the movie channels on my digital cable, I don't know why, but they have a different episode of that on every night. And they're promoting the new season coming. I don't know what that's all about.
Is it one of the many, many HBOs?
I don't know.
Because they might be doing a recap.
Because here they don't call it HBO. It's called M1 and M2. I don't know.
Traditionally, before the new season starts, they show, a lot of the old ones.
So I saw 30 seconds of another episode last night.
Oh, yeah.
Did I watch it?
No.
No. I just can't get into it. I'm sorry. And the one guy with a bad wig, man, he is...
Which one?
I don't know. There's one guy in there with an old guy with a real bad hairpiece, and I keep thinking of Bob Eisenberg, and I have to turn it off. And then I tried it again 2 days ago, and there was another guy with a bad hairpiece, and I was starting to think about Mo. And I started snapping my varicose veins, and I don't even have any. Anyway, I never got to this the other day. This was in yesterday's Herald, and it's got to get in before the end of the week. This is from the Washington Post, David Broder. Simpleton or statesman, professor's view of Bush-Berry. The people who teach and study the presidency find George W. Bush a puzzlement. More than 20 of them wrestled with his personality and performance on panels at the Labor Day weekend convention of the American Political Science Association. Their provisional assessments ranged from simpleton to the strength and purposefulness of Harry Truman or Ronald Reagan. Simplistic, one-dimensional, lacking the analytical and intellectual skills the office needs, a Dan Quayle in sheep's clothing, said Michael Genovese of Loyola Marymount University, but emotionally secure, well-organized, staffed by able, competent, experienced people, not visionary, but clear and specific in his goals, a political natural, insisted Fred Greenstein of Princeton University. So you figure out what it is. You just keep going and see what that reminds you of. Anyway, 326 votes on the poll. What do you think is going to happen next Wednesday? 9/11. 200 people? 200 even. I like that. Nothing unusual. 107 said, I have no idea. Just like I said and you said. How the hell do we know? And, oh, wait a minute. Change it one more time. Quick. Do it quick. And 19 people, 5.7% said another terrorist attack. Is what they said. Well, Happy New Year to all the Jews. All you Jewish folks out there in the audience. We got the Mad Dog coming up next. Big game this weekend, baby. You can smell the pressure building out.
Bye. The Neil Rogers Show.